Okay, I'm live. I'm live. All right, I'm just going to share around. I don't know if there's anyone in here yet. Haven't seen the little counter go up as of yet. Does show I'm live though. So just give me a sec here. Like I say, I start sharing this to my social media pages. There we go. There we go. And there we go. Notifications have been sent out to Facebook, Twitter, and Minds. Okay, so let's close this one down. Close that. I got to close a few things down. Hopefully my quality stays decent. Ooh, a whole 0. All right, I'll wait to see if a few people show up here. Definitely lots to discuss, lots to talk about and cover. Okay, I believe I covered that one already. I might keep it open though, just for anyone that hasn't seen it already or heard about it. Hopefully the quality's not too bad. Everyone's getting the warnings now that the social media pages, even Netflix is lowering the quality. Well, if you're lowering the quality, right, because of this, well, you better get ready to lower the price of your service too, because people, it's a thing. Not going to pay for, if I'm paying for a service for a certain amount of quality and I'm not getting the quality, well, that's a breach of contract. Sorry, too bad, so sad. Oh, I see there's 3 people that have joined here. Like I say, just give it a couple more minutes, probably because it takes a little while for the notifications to go out and people notice. And that's the other thing. I know YouTube doesn't exactly give everyone notifications. I get a lot of people say all the time, I didn't even know you were live. Now, like I say, a lot of times it might be that people haven't checked off the notifications on the bell icon on the YouTube channel, but could just be that, just not getting the notification, which is why I'll be patient and give some time here. Oh, I lost the. Oh, no, back. Oh, yeah, we definitely covered this one. Yeah, and the helicopter money, I covered that one. Does the economy need helicopter rescue? It's like unbelievable. Yeah, we won't worry about covering that one. I already covered it. And Trudeau about tracking Canadian cell phones, covered that the other day, so we can close that one off. Oh, yeah, of course, we got the CMHC. Started out that it was going to be just $50 billion, as if just $50 billion worth of mortgages that they're taking over from the banks. But nope, it's been bumped up to, what is it, 150 billion now. So yeah, 150 billion. On Thursday, the CMHC announced it would expand the mortgage buying program to $150 billion. So a lot of people are going to have government in charge of your mortgages. So I'm glad I got mine paid off. What's going on, Won Moti? The most dangerous virus in Canada is Trudeau. Well, he's part of that authoritarian collective mentality, right? So definitely, for sure, Trudeau is definitely the most dangerous virus. But I'm finding it absolutely striking today. It's, well, not just today, how all this is unfolding. Of course, we all have to deal with it in real time and see how this is unfolding. But as it is now, wow, it's just nonstop, constant promotion and seemingly acceptance by a massive amount of people of just, I give up. Government's going to take over not just the economy, but the means of production as well. I don't know if any of you folks have seen this stuff here, but BC assumes power to... Here, let me share this, actually. Let me share this. Share screen. There we go. So yeah, as you see, BC assumes power to take over supply chains amid COVID-19. So, like I said on my my Facebook post, there's an actual term to describe what it means when a government takes over the means of production, right? Right? Hello. Yeah. I mean, if you want to call it communism or socialism, I mean, pick your poison as far as that goes, right? But it's basically, yeah, authoritarian collectivism. I mean, when the state can go into a private and suggest that they have the authority to take over a private business, I say that's literally, that's your socialism right there, taking over the means of production. Like, what the hell is with these people? Have been reading far too much Karl Marx. But that's just the BC side of things, folks. I don't know if you heard about Quebec. Let me see if I can find that one here. Let me take this one off. Yeah, let me find the one about Quebec here. Montreal is what it is. It's this creeping socialism. Oh yeah, we got this too. Let me cover this. Bring that out too. All of the things that happen when authoritarian collectivism rears its ugly head is actually taking place. Yep, here it is. Here it is. Okay, so let me share this one here with you folks as well. So once again, we're seeing the same kind of reaction from these authoritarians. These ones are in Montreal. Let me share that with you as well. Share. Okay, Montreal. There we go. Montreal declares local state of emergency over fears of COVID-19 outbreak among city homeless. Our homeless people need resources and they need them now. Says Mayor Plant, right? Yeah, because that's their major concern, right? And once again, of course, help the homeless people out, but what the hell? You can help the homeless people out. Here's the problem with all this bullshit, right? Is everyone looks to government. And what is government? As I've said a gazillion times before, it's a representation of a monopoly of force or violence. It's a direct threat of force. That's what government is. And everyone, or not everyone, but a lot of people today and these politicians are using government. Like, so, when someone needs help, yeah, rather than throw them a lifeline, right? No, pick up the gun and threaten everyone else to do it instead, right? That's what these politicians are doing. They're forcing other people to come to the aid of some rather than doing it themselves. These politicians are never going to step outside of their comfort zones or their gated communities to help anyone, but they're more than willing to force you to. But basically, it comes down the sanitary crisis, right? Must not become a sanitary. So it's them dirty homeless. It's not about fucking helping homeless. It's about, we don't want those dirty homeless, those people that, those vagabonds, or you don't know how the way these people in fucking government would perceive the homeless, right? But the city's not okay. Okay, let me find the exact quoting here. Oh yeah, let me read this too, actually. Do we have this on share yet? Let me check and make sure it's on share. Yeah, it's being shared. Okay. Back to, okay. So yeah, in addition to that, so the premier also promised that no one who is working now and earning minimum wage will take home less than $2,000 a month. So they're basically in Quebec, they're saying everybody's going to get a $2,000 a month. I mean, there's a lot of people today, like I was saying, I don't want to throw the wife under the bus stuff and tell her like what she's making, but yeah, she doesn't even make that, right? And no, we're not in Quebec, nor do we want to be fucking parasites and live off of the government teat, regardless of the situation. But the fact that, now, I mean, think about how it's destroying the incentive for even people, like I say, even people like myself or my wife. If everyone, like if you live in Montreal right now and everyone's getting this $2,000 a month from the government, I mean, aren't you fucking being the fool by not taking it yourself? That's how you creep into this socialism, is because even the people that are principled, right? Especially if you don't have any resources yourself, if you're poor. Now, if you're wealthy, none of this means shit, but we're not talking about wealthy people. But if you're poor, the lower end of that social economic scale, and the government's doling out cash, well, of course, but it's going to incentivize people to turn towards government. That's how it happens, folks. That's how it happens. That's when people say, like I posted the other day or yesterday on Twitter, I tweeted and stuff, is if you ever wondered how socialism creeps into these countries, this is exactly how it's done. And once you got people relying on government for their income, it's going to be really difficult to try to get them off the dole and back to actually being productive and work for money that's probably less than that. Who's going to want to go back to work? Let's say it's only temporary, but you were getting $2,000 a month from the government. Who's going to want to go back to work subsequent to that point at a lower rate when they're actually doing work? There's going to be a psychological effect there, folks. This is the problem. But I don't know. Like I say, no one in the media, no one in the political class, none of them is telling you any of this stuff. It's just constantly touting and promoting this nonsense. I'm just trying to find where exactly it's said in this article. Okay, I must have gone down too far. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, here it is. So if you see right here, right? Look at this. Plant said the city now has the power to take over private properties to shelter people and to order needed supplies or food quickly as needed. So, I mean, they could say homeless, but hey, you could also use that because we know there's still thousands of those illegal asylum seekers, right? And they don't have much room to put those people, right? They might commandeer people's private property for those people because, once again, it's an excuse, it's a reason to supposedly help people that they deem in need. But in reality, once again, sure, I mean, I would love to help people out, and I will help people out who are in need if I can do so, but no one has to put a gun to my head. And the minute you actually have done that, where you're putting a gun to my head or suggesting that you can take over my private property, like I say, what kind of this stuff is basically the kind of shit that those utopian nightmares, the kind of stories that you were warned about. You know, if you ever read 1984, or if you ever read anything that has to do with the Gulag Archipelago, or if you understood the history of what happened through many authoritarian regimes in the 20th century, yes, of course they could take over your private property. Yes, they'll surveil you, watch everything you're doing. You got your papers, right? I mean, it's all unfolding in that very authoritarian collectivist way of doing things, and it's just the way it is, folks. I don't know what else to say, but so yeah, Montreal, they can commandeer your private property. That's the rule of the day now, just by sheer fact that some politician deemed it so, and people will go along with it because, well, they believe in that authority. That's the power of that mysticism, that belief in authority, is people will subjugate themselves unbelievably just by sheer fact that their authority told them to do so. Anyways, let me close up and yeah, here's the other another thing that CN talked about quite a bit. Happened in UK. There was a BBC story this morning. And this one's CBC out of Ottawa here. Let me show you this one. All right, here we go. Yeah. So check that out. Call police for COVID-19 offenses? Not that simple. Charging people last, not the first line of defense for enforcement officers. Police, Ottawa City Councillors, and new organizations and news organizations have all been fielding complaints about people not complying with the instructions from public health officials on reducing the transmission of COVID-19. Complaints from neighbors telling on neighbors who aren't self-isolating, or groups of kids hanging out at a local park not following social distancing, now called physical distancing practices, have been pouring in. And people want to know where they can report those rule breakers. Holy fuck. Like, oh my God. Like I say, if you heard all the stories about, this is exactly what happened under the communist regimes, right? In Russia and China. This is, and well, I mean, it happens now, right? But this is what happens under authoritarian collectivist regimes. Is people are now going to, want to virtue signal, right? Now you got fucking people ratting on each other for what? I mean, just ridiculousness. I mean, listen to this. On Friday evening, for example, police were called to the Glebe or Gleb, whatever, after someone complained that about a dozen neighbors were having a driveway party, although they were standing 2 meters apart and in different driveways. Officers told people not to stand on the sidewalk while drinking and then left. So apparently, these people were even observing, right? Even though they were trying to have a little driveway party, whatever, but they were actually observing the 2 meter distancing. But yet the neighbor decided, oh, look, there's a whole bunch of people out there together. Better call the cops. What the fuck? I tell you, right? I mean, think about that. How dangerous situation could have been if someone within that group had said, hey, get the fuck out of here, cop. It's none of your fucking business. We're just enjoying ourselves. If anyone actually had been bold enough to stand in defiance of the police in any way, or weren't willing to comply, then, this could have been escalated. Maybe people could have been hurt. Maybe people could have been trucked off to jail or something. Who knows? Just by sheer fact that someone wanted to be a fucking busybody or a rat. Like I said before, and my wife mentioned it again because she was talking to a customer the other day about people ratting on people. It's like, yeah, snitches get stitches, bitches, right? Or at least that's the way it used to be, but not in modern Kanakistan. Now it's not rat out your neighbor, rat out anyone. Remember? Well, we got the whole snitch line, even for not now. We got a whole snitch line. It's called 222 tips, right? Where you can rat out anybody for any reason. And you can even remain anonymous. Like, what a fucking, like when you put all the pieces of the puzzle together, folks, Canada is a very, very, very restricted country. Even though people believe they have freedoms, it's just you're free range slaves. So you get to move around a little bit, right? But no, you're still restricted and confined within the bounds of your authoritarian collectivist masters. If you step outside those bounds, that's when you actually find just how big of a threat these authoritarians can be, is the minute you've stepped outside of their edicts, right? That's the thing. If you're compliant and conformist like the majority of Canadians, and just go along with whatever your authoritarian masters tell you to do, well, people are like, well, hey, no one's ever caused any harm to me. Well, that's because you do everything your master tells you to do. Of course, your master's not going to whip you if you do everything they say. No, the master reserves the whip for those who don't comply. And yeah, there's a very minority of people who won't comply in this country because most are sheeple and so dumbed down or indoctrinated and conformist into this mindset that they'll just go along with basically anything. Just like when the, like I say, the authoritarian collectivist regimes of the 20th century, all those people that followed the orders of their authoritarian master, yeah, they did it because, like I say, well, better do what I'm told, right? I mean, the Nuremberg trials prove that. Anyways, let me close this up again. Yeah, ratting on your neighbor. What a disgusting thing, right? Ratting on your neighbor. What a pathetic bunch of people. And then, of course, who would thought you'd see this kind of article? Well, I mean, a lot of people. I mean, people talk about it all the time, but to see an ex-British PM actually come out and say it, it's wild. It's wild, right? There we go. Another one. So as you can see here, Gordon Brown calls for global government to tackle coronavirus. Ex-Prime Minister at center of 2008 banks rescue suggests task force of leaders and health experts. So yeah, this is another one of those dipshits that was part and parcel of the great bailout that caused even more divide, right? That's actually where the biggest economic divides come from. When people say, oh, the U.S. is just so unfair and there's just so much economic divide. Well, that economic divide, if you see the trajectory and how it all happened and unfolded, is the divide started rampantly increasing subsequent to the financial crisis and those bailouts. Why? Because the bailouts went to that top 1% or 0.1% of those who were part of the connected class, the ruling class. And then the poor, like, well, the middle class we've seen, it's been hollowed out. It's been hollowed out for quite some time, but definitely it was ramped up after the financial crisis. So really we're back to the days of a very tiny percentage of people that are the bourgeoisie, right? And then everyone's the proletariat. Like, just pure, like I say, how do you think communism and socialism, how do you think they all come to place? Is you create an environment, a scenario where everyone's resentful because they see that the wealthy are gaining massive amounts of wealth, right? While the poor is getting poorer and poorer every day. But yet, who are they pivoting to blame? The media mouthpieces want to point to corporations or Donald Trump, an ex-businessman who was never had any political background prior. They want to point to the businesses and corporations or the banksters, which I'll say they got lots of culpability and lots of blame. But how did they get that? Like, the banksters had no way to bail themselves out. None of these major corporations had any authority to bail themselves out, right? None of them have a printing press, right? None of these corporations have a printing press. But the Federal Reserve, the Bank of Canada, in conjunction with the governments who create these entities, right? They're the ones that printed all that money to the tune of trillions of dollars at the time that created that divide. But once again, the narrative is always conducive with blaming certain people and never actually reflecting that it's government. Government is what creates that. The politicians are, oh yeah, we gotta go after the corporations. Oh, you mean the very people that you fucking bailed out? Oh, and now that they're squandering, pissing away the money that you threw to them, right? And not reinvesting it or recapitalizing in their companies, and they're just doing stock buybacks. Oh, you mean the money you gave them? Well, maybe you shouldn't have fucking took from the taxpayers or the unborn to bail out these corporations. You fucks are the ones that incentivize this kind of behavior. But like I say, this is how it's unfolding. They're creating the perfect environment and atmosphere to bring about not just socialism or communism in Canada, but basically we're all 7 billion of us on this planet. It's just going to be one big gigantic authoritarian regime, and what, we're all going to suckle off the government tea, and those few that don't, well, too bad for them, right? They'll just end up in the gulags, right? So, yeah, it's a thing. Any of the people that bring up the terminology conspiracy theories, like, oh, really? So you don't pay a fucking attention to the news? Because if you're saying anything that people say in terms of, one world government, if you say, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist, like, what? You didn't actually hear these fucking dipshits? These people are actually saying that, right? It's not just George Soros. It's many people today that are these world leaders, right, are the ones that are touting this one world government. Opportunistic authoritarians is what they are, folks. Anyway, so yeah, crazy shit. Crazy stuff. Let's see. Let me get back here, see if anyone else has joined into the stream here yet. Like I said, I just go on my own little tangents. Hey, what's going on? Just sell a hey too. Howdy. Will Zek, The Guardian, Gordon Brown has urged world leaders to create a temporary form of, yeah, I know, right? Yeah, it's just, like, that's just so insane. So insane. I am so glad that you are covering totalitarianism. NWO disguised behind CV. They're also using this as a testing ground for universal. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, UBI. Well, like I say, for sure they're touting the UBI. What was it? A CBC article, actually, that once again, I was covering it the other day, actually, so I won't bother trying to find it out. But yeah, oh yeah, they're once again, every time there's any blip in the economy, they're looking for an excuse to bring in a universal basic income. Because once you get people accustomed to suckling on the government tit and becoming dependent on government, like I say, it's really, really, really hard to re-incentivize them later not to be that way. That's how socialism comes, and it's very sticky, right? Really hard to get rid of or unwind socialism once it's fully implemented. And I mean, Canada's already been on a track for that. I mean, the socialized healthcare, the myriad of socialized programs, the constant forced and wealth income redistribution. I mean, look at the provinces, even the way the provinces are set up with the transfer payments. Some provinces are full on for decades now. Quebec, right? Just welfare cases. And New Brunswick, where I'm from. I'm not just going to, since I had someone that was from Quebec. It's like, don't take it personal. That's how your government sets shit up. That's how Canada sets shit up. But if people are from Quebec or whatever, I had someone say, "Oh, don't blame us." Well, it's just a reality. Sorry if I'm pointing out reality that your province happens to be a big, giant parasite on the productivity of places like Alberta and Saskatchewan. And this person was trying to suggest, oh, well, look at Alberta now. Oh, they might end up being the welfare cases. Like, well, really? Well, if you're the one that's in a province that's already a welfare case and has to suckle up the teat of big government, and that big government is getting all that money from the productivity of people in Alberta, well, I mean, just by natural, if you think critically about it, well, if Alberta becomes a welfare case, well, what the fuck's the rest of the province got to do, right? Now you don't even have them to suckle off of anymore, right? So come on. But yeah, New Brunswick's another, the last time I seen a report, I think was what, 46% of the entire budget for New Brunswick comes from those transfer payments. So Canada's already, the amount of forced wealth and income redistribution in this country puts us, I don't know what, already probably 2/3 of the way to being a fully socialist country. The reason why countries such as Canada never go fully socialist is because they realize the minute you've destroyed incentives for anybody to be productive, well, you end up as Venezuela or Russia, like under the communist regime. You end up, your entire economy collapses, or you become, North Korea, a very closed off, a very isolated, a very non-productive nation. That's why they've always historically left a little bit of capitalism to produce the wealth so that they can skim off a large portion of that off the top and distribute it how they see fit. But now, under the Trudeau regime, they seem to want to try a whole new experiment where they're going on basically full-on socialism, even though they're touting it as temporary, giving everybody an income, right? What do you think the money that Trudeau's handing out to everyone today? Right? It's basically giving almost every Canadian some kind of subsidy or income, and they're topping up that 10% wage subsidy that they were touting earlier. Now they've topped that up to 75%. Now, as someone that worked in construction for many years, when I went on unemployment, which I have to pay, EI is an added cost, not just the taxes, but EI is an added cost, as you know, when you get your paycheck, right? But on EI, you only get 55%. When you go on EI, and it's because, you can't do a lot of the work that you do in construction in those cold winter months when the ground's frozen and all that, but you only get 55%. But right now, under this new socialist program that Trudeau's bringing out, and they're touting it is only going to be temporary, but people are going to get 75%. So once again, how are you going to try to incentivize people to want to get back in the workforce when you're going to have months on end of people becoming conducive and aligned with just suckling on the government teat? Really hard. Like, it's that moral hazard. Just like if you were raising your kids and you never taught them ever to go out and get a job, right? If you just kept handing money to your kids forever, it's going to really, now some kids will still go out and be incentivized, maybe just because they can't stand you and they just want to get out of the household, right? But let's say your kids could live in a different household and you still kept sending them the check. At that time, they might not want to go to work. Because if they recognize, well, if you're going to give me $2,000 a month, and if I went to work and I don't have much for skills, which, a lot of people that, represent the majority of people, and they just get those minimum wage jobs or those lower paying jobs, which does represent the majority of the people, right? Why would you go to work? If the government's going to give you more than what you could to go to work, I mean, come on. There's a very tiny minority of people that's going to be willing to say, no, I'm going to work anyways. But I mean, even that will destroy their own incentives after a while when they're the ones getting up, going the fuck to work, pounding the pavement, doing all that shit, working hard every day while they come home and it's like, oh, you were at work today? Oh, yeah, no, we were all hanging out, barbecuing all day, living off that government check, right? Holy shit, that's going to completely destroy the incentive of even the ambitious people. Like I say, the hazards, the implication for this is quite profound. Anyways, what was that? I just wanted to read that. Oh, I put it right here in my stream, actually. My original comment up here that I put out the other day, because I've been thinking a lot, obviously, about this stuff. But yeah, so a one world government is being touted by a former UK PM. Entire segments of economies are shutting down. Trudeau, I don't know if you heard about this, Trudeau, unlimited. And the Conservatives, everyone allowed them to pass this bill where it's unlimited debts from now until June. Unlimited. So it's like an unlimited credit card, like spending of the future productivity or income of the unborn is what that is, but unlimited now. So yeah, unlimited debts and deficits are now, that's just the way it is. A barrel of Western Canada Select, Albertan oil, is now cheaper than a pound of butter, what was it yesterday, going for $4.58 a barrel. $4.58 a barrel. So, you know, that's another way to completely destroy the economy of Alberta. So once again, the Albertan people that are mostly self-reliant and resilient and really against big government, well, think about it. Put them in a position like they've been since 2014, which 6 years later, and how many people have already lost their livelihoods and now have been living like, you know, paycheck to paycheck, just barely getting by. Even those people you'll see even a substantial portion of them will now pivot towards government and suckle on that tit, not because they necessarily want to, but because they need to. And as this unfolds and the economy gets destroyed even more, because like I say, you can't remain a viable business at these prices, like selling your oil at like basically almost giving it away, right? They're not going to be able to sustain that for very long. So yeah, you're even going to get, like I say, the productive people in this country and the ones that are usually self-reliant and self-sufficient and totally against big government, they're going to eventually come around, and we're seeing it all right today. I mean, Jason Kenney's touting a bailout package. This is what's happening, folks. Like I say, like I've said so many times, because we've never lived it, we weren't privy to be a fly on the wall in some of these other countries where socialism came to fruition. And you think, well, how the fuck could that happen? It just doesn't make sense. Oh, it must be just them people, right? Oh, no, it's just, you know, like Venezuela. Oh, it's just them. I don't know. Some people say, oh, that's them lazy South Americans in those warm climates. They don't want to work hard. I mean, lots of people offer all kinds of excuses for why certain countries around the world turns towards authoritarian collectivism or socialism. But here's a perfect example. This is a real life example in a country such as Canada, where look, Canada historically used to be comprised of some very self-sufficient, self-reliant people as well, right? But look at how far I'm not saying this country has fallen to the point where today you have large segments of the population who are now pivoting, whether it's out of need, necessity, or just because some of them enjoy not having to be productive, right? But this is what you're getting. This is how socialism creeps into a society. It's that boiling frog approach, right? It's been coming at us, well, basically since the 70s when it really started. Well, some of the socialist programs actually were starting to be implemented in the 60s or so. But it was really the 70s, and once no country in the West had to worry about, you know, being backed by the money being backed by like an actual tangible commodity such as gold, when basically you could just turn on the print press, you know, full speed. Ever since then, well, you can see the trajectory and the growth of government and the destruction of and the hollowing out of the middle class and the stagnation of wages. Well, this is what happens. It's decades in the making, but here we are now. If you go from the 70s, well, I was born in 1970, 50 years later, half a century later, and like I say, look at the position we're in today and how many people are willing to accept authoritarian collectivism for a check. But yeah, that's what I was trying to finish to say is, and everyone's reaction to this whole thing is, where's my check, right? Where's my check? Wow. How disappointing. How extremely disappointing. Anyways, back into the chat, see what everyone's talking about here. Then watch, they'll say, wait a minute, we need to make sure that you are vaccinated before you go back to work. Yep. Oh, yeah. Oh, they've been talking about trying to impose forced vaccinations for quite a while, right? That's another one of those articles, one of those topics that keeps rearing its ugly head in the established media. I like I say, because I've covered it many times in the past. We're the forced vaccination. Not that I'm against all vaccinations. Like I say, I'm not one of those people that has to do one side or the other. And some vaccines, you know, are completely legit. But yeah, now everything or this coronavirus, not everyone's going to need it. Nor should everyone have to have it. Then watch, they'll say, wait a minute, we need to make sure that you're oh yeah, okay. Then impose a smart ID chip for motorists and bring in the digital currency. Oh, they're already talking about bringing about digital currency. U.S. is. We won't be able to buy or sell without it. Yep. This is the NWO. They are quietly bringing it in real fast. Oh, I agree, Gisela. It's crazy shit. Hey, what's going on, Ian? They see in the chat. What's going on, official blasphemy? Howdy said that's why all this is happening. Does anyone here think something big is coming in the next week or two? I mean, it's already here. It's like I say, how this is going to unfold and roll out. I would never pretend to be able to predict anything because, like I say, my credibility is way more important to me than pretending that I can read the future. Got no crystal ball, but I do know based on how things are unfolding that, yeah, they are definitely trying to gradually bring us towards people being reliant on the state. That's just reality, because people that are relying on the state are much more compliant, conformist, and easier to control. That's just a reality. Don't know if it's going to be big so much as being done secretly. Yesterday, Trump imposed that the Fed be controlled by the Treasury, so that's huge. Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, that's the thing. People say, "Oh, the Fed's a private entity," right? No, it's called the Federal Reserve Act. They can change that at any time through an act of legislation. So yeah, it's fucking crazy. And even to pretend right now that it's like an arm's length away and completely independent is absolute bullshit anyways. Trump wanted the rates to go down, and the rates went down. And that's another thing, folks, keep in mind. As this is unfolding, all the countries, notice that? And that's the thing. I don't know if Trump is complicit or just is stuck between a rock and a hard place and doesn't know what to do. And really, what the hell can he do in certain situations, certain aspects? Although one thing I will say is, because the U.S. is the world reserve currency and have the largest military on the planet, they don't necessarily have to go along with this stuff. But if you think about it, all the G7 nations are coordinating the devaluation of their currency. Like Canada, right? They all went down together. Whereas if the U.S. didn't put in their bailout package and print another bunch of trillions of dollars, then that U.S. currency would be a safe harbor or a safe haven, or at least in comparison and contrast to all the rest of the nations, right? And as a Canadian who gets paid in American funds on YouTube, even that $100, which is roughly I get, although some months I don't even get that, but that $100, like if Canada devalued its currency and some of these other countries by trying to bail out, right, by print money to try to bail out their economy, well, you see our dollar would greatly keep decreasing. And if it kept decreasing, while there was at least one safe haven like the U.S. that wasn't destroying the purchasing power of their dollar, well, my $100 in comparison to that Canadian dollar, just think of Zimbabwe or Venezuela. I mean, Venezuela went through, what was it, 1 year? I mean, tens of thousands of percent inflation increase because they were just trying to paint over and mask over their economic issues by printing money, which is why at the end of it, or even today, people had to go with wheelbarrows of money, of what they call bolivars or whatever their currency is down there, to buy like a loaf of bread, more or less. Well, if Canada did the same thing, well, they could destroy the purchasing power and the value of the Canadian dollar. But then if you had the ability to find safe harbor or haven in the US dollar or gold or silver, well, you'd find out just how valuable that is in comparison contrast, because you would the values, well, just like I say, perfect example, take a Venezuelan bolivar and a US dollar, and even one US dollar, if you spend that US dollar in the US, it's like, it's not much money. But take that $1 US to Venezuela right now, it's worth a shitload of money. You could spend a lot, you can get a lot for $1 US in Venezuela, just like you could in Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe got to the point where they had $1 trillion bills they were printing, right? But that's the thing. Once you start into that debt spiral by printing money to such a rampant degree to pay for all this, like if Canada was doing it, if the UK was doing it, all these other Western countries were doing it, but the USA wasn't, well, then all these other currencies would be so massively devalued, everyone would be seeking the safe haven of the US currency and wouldn't be accepting Canadian dollars, right? Businesses, private individuals. But because all the Western nations, even under Trump, the US, even, like I say, I like some of the things Trump has done, but I'm just going to point out for clarity here, because I don't pick sides, right? And I'm not an idol worshiper. I just got to align with Trump, right? No. Like I say, Trump is doing the same thing, which is why they all get together and have these meetings, so they can coordinate their devaluations together so that no one gets any particular advantage. Now, the U.S. didn't mind doing it to Venezuela because Venezuela isn't a country that the U.S. really had to worry about. Actually, it was in direct competition with Venezuela in terms of oil and all that stuff. But Canada's very, very valuable to the U.S., which same with the UK, right? the Five Eyes, take all that into consideration, NATO. So yeah, they're going to still coordinate together because they want to keep, like I say, they want to keep their friends closer, right? Keep the enemies close, or keep their friends close, but their enemies. Well, actually, no, that's kind of a bad way of saying it, but that's what they're doing. They're devaluing together so that there isn't anywhere where people can go to the safe haven. Because if there's such thing as a safe haven, all of our, like I said, and in Canada, think about it. If we were allowed to use anything other than the Canadian dollar to go to the grocery store, and Canada, so let's just use a perfect example of Canada, US. So let's say Canada kept devaluing by Trudeau, bailing out to the tunes of what he's spending hundreds of billions of dollars right now, right? Pumping it into the economy, trying to bail everyone out. So if you've seen that Canadian dollar as a reflection of that, keep devaluing, but you could spend US currency in Canada, which you can if they do the swap, right? Then just make sure you're getting paid in American money. And you would see that, your purchasing power would be constantly increasing to the point where you're like, just like the housing market, where you're all of a sudden sitting on right? Like some kind of golden goose. But because they're coordinating and doing it together, you're not seeing any safe haven as of yet. Anyways, I'll forget about getting too big into that. Let me see. Don't know if it's going to be big. Okay. The Fed is now, okay. Amber, Hunger Games scenario coming to an area near you. That's possible. That's a cool little picture you got there, Amber. Yeah, the U.S. is printing. Is it 10 trillion? Well, I know 6 trillion so far. Where are the RCMP doing this? Wait a minute. Let me see what we talk about here. And the RCMP have already been doing. Okay, let's see this here. Oh, okay. Let me go back up. This and some stuff here. Yeah, this is bad, big time. AWOL, perhaps. Yes. Just trying to catch. So AWOL. Fuck this. Seriously, if you cannot survive on 2,000, you're damn spoiled. Oh, of course. Well, 2,000. I'm not sure how that. Yeah, you could survive off $2,000, no problem, of course. But once again, if you're getting that from government, most rent in most cities are at least $1,200 for. Well, that's the thing. Yeah, if you're living in the big cities, but that's the thing. I don't know. People that are living in the big cities, unless you're rich, I don't know why the fuck they're there in the first. Other than, hey, what's going on, Ian? Other than, I don't know. I just don't understand. Well, I mean, because that's where a lot of the jobs are. Although the jobs that, when you think about it, I mean, I don't know. I personally, I wouldn't want to live in one of the big cities right now. That's for sure. Remember, folks, we can't halt immigration. From now on, we should all practice social distance. Yeah. Yeah. Move, for fuck's sakes. Move. I don't know. It must be people having a conversation back and forth. Seriously, if you can. Fuck this. Okay, what was happening with this AWOL guy? Actually, let me scroll up here. Or guy or gal. 2-bedroom. I survive off $900. What the fuck are you eating gold? We are screwed. Huh? Yeah. World leaders are groomed for their positions. Hey, what's going on, Jeremy Holder? Anyways, let me scroll back down here. Like I say, I was trying to get on top of that conversation that was going on, but apparently. Did you ever notice what these clowns were giving their speeches about social distance? Oh, okay. If you can survive on $2,000, awesome. A lot can't. I will always make enough because I know I can. It's just. But it's not even a matter of just surviving anyways. This is the fucking thing with when you get into these socialist scenarios. And like so many people have been being taught this fucking mentality, this cocksucking socialist mentality, that race to the bottom, right? Who gives a fuck about just surviving? People, we're not put on this planet merely just to survive, for Christ's sakes. People should be able to make as much money as they want as long as they're earning that through voluntary exchange, right? I have no problem with a billionaire if they've earned that billion fucking dollars or more, through voluntary exchange, or because they've offered a product or service that people clamor for and are willing to pay for, right? Christ almighty, if Apple or Samsung, are billion-dollar companies because people love their Samsungs and their Apples, well, that's good for them. That's good for them. I have no issue with people, creating massive amounts of wealth. And a lot of that wealth does get reinvested and spent into the economies in a myriad of ways, folks. I don't know. This is the problem with people today is it's nobody's being taught anything proper anymore. It's just anger, resentment, and petty bickering over who's going to get the slice of that government pie, right? Jesus. What about Democrats and Power Corp? Canadian oligarchs sold us out for China. Prepare for every major event in the future. How many are going to take the shot? The shot? I heard that the Deputy Prime Minister put in the Emergencies Act. Really? Half an hour late, arg. It's all good. I'm not a religious guy, but this sure seems to be falling the book, right? Yeah, I know. I remember the first time my grandmother used to read the Bible to me so much when I was younger. And yeah, I still remember a lot of the stories, out of the book of Revelation. And yeah, it's like, wow, where's the locust? Don't let them poke you with anything, nor swab. AWOL per person could survive for sure at current standards on 2,000 a month, but those people surely would not thrive. And that is the point. Yeah, right. Martial law is on its way. I mean, it already is in certain parts of the country. It's just they haven't actually enacted it yet. Like I say, they've already got the powers there. It's just a matter of when they want to turn the switch on and use them. That's all. Right now, because of the public spectacle it would make, they're measuring and calculating just how far they want to push it. But I suppose the way they look at it, right? Put yourself in the Machiavellian mindset. If you think about it, you definitely don't want to try to be perceived as being too far in your authoritarian approaches. You want to kind of come across as only if needed or necessary, right? So you're already building up a little bit of pre-cred for that ultimate time that you may have to do so. Damn phones. All right, that phone's going to be ringing for a second or so. But yeah, kind of lost my train of thought there, to be honest with you. Anyways, moving on. Ding dong, we're here to collect your guns. By the way, roll up your sleeve. Ian, the RCMP have already begun doing evacuations and searching houses and taking guns once folks are gone. Oh, well, that happened. That definitely happened in High River. Was it High River, Alberta, right? Like I say, these kind of things happen, but people have short fucking memory. Who remembers October 1970 FLQ crisis? Oh, yeah. Yeah, we've heard about that. And just watch me, right? Trudeau's daddy. Where are the RCMP doing this? You'll have to give up your mental protections, get a vaccine, smart ID, be a slave. With us all isolated with no mental protectors, there's zero. We're all talking about these things and these potential, but once it's a thing, it's not the part that's disturbing to me is the lack of outrage. Because once this all comes to fruition, like, how do you think you get out from it? You're not going to vote it out, right? So people should have been paying attention to stuff long ago. The U.S. is printing $10 trillion. That will be a huge devaluation for those who are responsible with their money. These bailouts punish the fiscally responsible, rewarding those who aren't. Yep, 100%. That's exactly what they do. They have created a new digital currency already. Just wait to implement it with smart ID. Oh, like I say, and when people fucking use the expression, oh, conspiracy theorists, holy fuck, that to me, that you should never be able to use the word conspiracy theory ever again, considering the fact that a lot of the conspiracy theories that people used to say in the past have been proven true. I mean, come on, stop using, like I say, if someone's using the term conspiracy theory, they're just trying to undermine your credibility. Even if you're being completely honest and forthright and pointing out an actual reality, they'll still call you conspiracy theorists. That's their way of trying to discredit you. So yeah, someone pulls out the conspiracy theory. Now, some people do get outrageous, like I say. But when it comes to this stuff and one world government and some of the authoritarian practices. Well, Edward Snowden, just the Edward Snowden revelations alone were enough to basically destroy the whole tinfoil hat bullshit, right? Conspiracy theory nonsense. People think that that they take monthly 2,000 live on their property for the rest of their life, like vacation. Yeah, that's not going to work out that way. Okay, back down here. Try and do this so that it doesn't. We live in Soviet Socialist Canada, pretty much. The constant message from them is we want to keep you safe. Well, actually, let me bring that up since you brought that up. This whole fucking pretense and the whole narrative is we got to shut, like, and you folks, if you're longtime listeners or watchers of my videos, you know, well, I mean, my whole livelihood and career as a truck driver was destroyed because of collective punishment, right? Some people who drink and drive and cause harm to people out there on the roadways have created these mandatory minimum sentences or collective punishment where if you do have a drink, like me, I had a few drinks on my ATV on a rural trail in fucking New Brunswick. I mean, out in the fucking middle of the woods here, folks. But because someone else and the propaganda campaign put forth by MAD over decades, right, suggests that anyone that has a drink, they've programmed the Canadian psychology and the typical Canadian to think that if you say that someone had drank and drove, boom, their brain automatically reverts right to, oh, that person's an immediate threat and a danger to us all. We got to punish them severely. That is the mindset. And why? Because they've been programming that into the people for decades now. To the point where you could go to a courtroom, like someone like myself, like, nope, didn't cause no harm to no one. Was just having a few beer out on a nice sunny day while I was riding my ATV, didn't cause no harm to nobody. But hey, we got to destroy your livelihood, your career, you know, make you a criminal now because it's a criminal conviction, take away your license and your livelihood. And because I lived in the country, it's like not like I could fucking jump in a taxi and travel an hour into town and back. It would cost more to travel back and forth to town than I would ever make as an income. So there was no viability, which is why I had to move up to Ontario to find income and leave my home, which I won't even get into the devastation and all the consequences effect of having to do that. But yeah, it was that kind of authoritarianism, that kind of collective punishment where you're going to punish me because of the acts of others. Okay, enough with the calling. What time is it here? Odd. Okay, just give me a sec there, folks. All right, sorry about that. I don't know, but for someone to keep calling, they should know that I, after the first call, so let me just check here real quick. Huh. All right. I guess the wife got off work early today. All right, cool. Anyway, sorry about that, folks. Once again, damn it, I lost my train of thought here. Okay, but yeah, where was I going? Let me just go back to the messages here. Easy, Canadian Libertarian. Don't be so triggered. What? What'd I do? Where did I get triggered? Don't use the triggered fucking bullshit with me. That's such a fucking lame ass thing. Assume if Buddy's here, he's at least on the right path. I'm not sure he was coming for a place of entitled victim. Have no idea what you're talking about there, official. Easy, Canadian Libertarian. Don't be so. Where the hell did we see anything here? I don't know. Anyways, whatever. I know this. Listen, you might think, and I know you comment on stuff from time to time. I don't even remember what the hell. Like, I know. I have so much stuff that runs through my mind in the run of the day. I'm sorry, but I know you've probably said something. I'm trying to think. There's probably something on one of my YouTube videos that you commented and we kind of had a disagreement over, but sorry, you're just not important enough that I keep that. Yeah. Like there's a reason why I sleep well at night. I don't fucking sit around like I worry about things in the moment, right? But then you gotta put the stuff aside at some point in time. So like I say, I have no idea what you're talking about. I live in Northwest Territory. If I leave and come back, I get 2 weeks self-isolation. But if a courier does this, he doesn't. What the fuck does this mean? Oh, that's what I was getting at. Oh yeah, sorry. Now I remember. So yeah, collective. Is that what you're talking about? Because of my impaired thing? Like I say, people love to make fun of the fact that I lost my job. Like that's how petty and resentful fucking Canadians are. I guess I was doing too well. That's same with fucking neighbors and shit that fucking get all fucking. Anyways, whatever. I'm so used to it. I've lived in this country my whole life, so I'm very much used to the pettiness and the resentment. So many Canadians are so resentful for anyone that they perceive to be better than them in any fucking way. And that's their thing is because they recognize they can never pull themselves up to your level. Well, how else do you ever get any kind of form of equality? Well, in a socialist country like Canada, how do you get your equality? Well, you sure shit are never going to be as good or as great as the people that you perceive that are better than you. So how do you get equality? Well, you better drag them the fuck down to your level, right? Then you're like, aha, we're equal now, right? Well, not really, because the only reason why I'm down here is because you drag the hell down here. It's not, I wouldn't naturally be down here with you, right? You get that. And unless you think you're going to be able to hold me down here all day, every day for the rest of my life, I'm still going to end up, it's like bubbling up to the top at some point in time, but whatever, like I say. But yeah, that authoritarian collectivism is, so they're trying to lock down entire segments of the economy, putting hundreds of thousands, ultimately millions of people out of work for the pretense. And Don Pittis or whatever that CBC contributor or someone else was saying, oh, the people are so evil for. I'm going to actually bring that article up because, like I say, it's completely conducive with this authoritarian collectivism and collective punishment. Is you're going to punish entire populations, entire segments of the economy for the few. That's what collectivism is. Sacrificing individuals for the greater good or the collective. They're more than willing to sacrifice. It just depends on who they're going to pick as be the sacrificial lambs or animals, right? Which most of the time are people who are weak and vulnerable themselves and not in a position to defend themselves. Because if they were, well, they wouldn't pick on them because bullies don't tend to pick on people they perceive as stronger than they. Okay. Damn, everything's busy today. But yeah, let me see if I can't find that. Actually, no, I'm probably not going to be able to find that one. Let's see. But basically, it was along the same lines that, if you're not willing to shut down the entire economy for the weak and the vulnerable, you're a bad person. Or anyone saying, well, we still need to keep the economy going, you're a bad person for saying something. Like that fucking guilt, that shame. The name and shame, that's the game, right? That's the name of the game, is shame and blame. Right? But that's what they do now. They're just, if you're thinking anything outside of the box or outside of what they're telling you you're allowed to think, oh, you're a bad, bad, bad person. Which, like, think about how easy it would be. I mean, I love my grandmother tremendously. She's one of the most important people in my life, and she's in a senior care home. But would I ever suggest that we should all shut down the economy, to protect her? It's be like, no, just make sure that the senior care home and her providers, the people that go in and out of her room or that go in or even visiting, right? We should maybe not all, maybe we shouldn't be able to visit unless we've all been proven to have not, right? I get that to help protect the vulnerable, but the rest of the economy continue on. It should be able to continue on. How do you protect the vulnerable? Protect them. Do what you can to protect them, but it doesn't mean you have to shut down the entire economy to do so. So that just goes to show you that none of these fucking idiots or these hacks in the media or your political overlords are thinking critically about this issue. But this is how you know that they're not being honest or forthright with you, because all it takes is a few minutes to think about these things. And you're like, oh yeah, no, it'd be much better actually to protect them by making the people that are vulnerable. You isolate. I'm not fucking isolating because I'm not scared of it. And if my neighbor's not scared and this neighbor's not scared and that person that works in this grocery store is not scared and this person that owns this convenience store, we can all still do economic activity because we're all willing. We're adults and we're willing to accept that if we get the virus, we get the virus, right? I'm an adult. I should be treated as one. If I say I'm not worried about getting the virus and the people that are out and about, right? Because that's the thing. Oh, well, if you don't care about the virus, the same fucking bullshit with the vaccine argument. Well, yeah, sure, you might not care if you get the fucking the flu or the virus, but you're putting everyone else in danger too. Well, if those people that you think I'm putting in danger are scared for themselves or fearful for their own livelihoods, or they don't want to get it, the onus is on them to isolate, not fucking me. Don't make me fucking race down to be a scaredy little piece of shit, wimp, coward, or put myself to be something as vulnerable as they are. And I'm not saying everyone's wimps and cowards if they don't want to get it. Like I say, the ones that are truly sick or vulnerable or predisposed or maybe have a condition so it makes them susceptible with getting this virus, okay, do it, but protect them. Doesn't mean you have to stop me from going outside to protect them. They're the ones that need to be the fuck inside and isolated, protected, not me, not the rest of society, and not the entire economy. Right? Who's with me? No, but seriously, does that not only make sense? Does to me. Okay, back to the chat here. Okay, I'm gonna scroll. Okay, here we go. I live in. Okay, saw that one already. It's this, mommy and daddy, we know best. We know what's best for you because we are smarter than you. Yeah. And like I say, not all boomers. Okay, don't want to trigger it. If there's any boomers in the chat, don't get pissed off. Because if this doesn't mean you, then it's not you. But yeah, what a boomer mindset to have that. Like, don't do as I say, not as I do, more or less, right? But yeah, I mean, it's just, I'll just be so glad when that cohort, and because they have the power of numbers to have so much political sway. Wow. Yeah. Mommy and dad, it's full-grown adults, all of us full-grown adults we're living in a time where, yeah, even though we're adults, we're still being treated like children. I'll be so glad when they have finally lost that grip on power. I don't know how long it's going to take, though, folks. And I hope the millennials aren't going to be the ones to take it over, because there's a substantial portion of them seem to have that same goddamn mindset. Not all, mind you, not all. Like I say, the problem is survival of the fittest is bred out of humans. We live in a day and age where stupid people can reproduce and die of old age, making docile, compliant citizens. Yeah. Right. And I'm not even suggesting that, it has to be just the strongest and the fittest that survive. But I mean, think about it. That's how nature works. All these environmentalists and stuff, and nature knows best, right? Nature's how things are supposed to be. We got to protect and preserve nature. Well, nature is all about survival of the fittest. So all these environmentalist dipshits, these proponents of environmentalism or greenies and all this shit, it's like, well, so you want to go in the state of nature? Cool. I'm all for it, because I actually do pretty good in the state of nature. But they don't really want it. They tout it, but if they ever got it, they'd be like, oh, fuck, let's change course. I don't want this anymore. But yeah, right on, Luke Teniek. I believe that's probably how you call it. I'm pissed off. Everyone should be. I'm pissed off too, Amber. I'm pissed off and I ain't going to take it anymore. Right? Conspiracy theory was a term conceived by no matter who conceived it. Yeah, it's like I say, it's a way now. And there are some things that are genuine conspiracy theories, obviously, right? But the fact that it's so thrown around these days, so for everything, it's like, really, you're going to call some, like, think about it. If you were just 2 months prior to the Edward Snowden revelations, or even people like myself that were saying long before that, is governments were spying and invading on your privacy. If you were to say that, and they're collecting all your data and storing it on servers, right? And collect it all, as James Clapper had to own up and admit to, right? But it's like, if you had to said that just prior to the Edward Snowden revelations, yeah, all these media hacks and a lot of your friends, your neighbors and coworkers and the political class and the so-called experts, they'd be saying, look, tinfoil hat wearing motherfucker, look at that. Oh, yeah, the government's spying on you, right? Oh, yeah, they got mass surveillance powers to collect all your data. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Meanwhile, Snowden, boom, proof. And he had all the documentation, right? Didn't just say it, had all the documentation, right, to prove it to us. So it's like, boom, there you go. Conspiracy this, asshole, right? So, yeah, all these conspiracy theories. Well, A lot of them have been proven to be completely true. So the fact that, and that's why they're now, like, that's why they're not holding back as much now. Like, they're retweaking things, but they're still going to try to play that game to discredit anyone that's going to point out reality. That's the sad thing that we live in today, is the people that are trying to point out reality, you have substantial portions of the population who are falling for people who they perceive to be wiser. Or, I mean, and think about this too. How many articles, not just the ones I read, cover all the time and share on my social media pages, the ones that you see, how many times do they constantly use, if they want you to believe something, they refer to an expert? I mean, how fucking easy is it these days just to say someone's an expert, right? If you got government accreditation of any sort, they deem you an expert, which doesn't mean anything. You can be a well-trained SEAL. You can be conducive with repeat and regurgitate whatever your political masters talk and do it for 10,000 hours, or 10,000 hours, and then you're an expert. But all you're an expert in is repeating and regurgitating political talking points jammed in your head by your political masters. Ooh, what an expert, right? Just like a fucking SEAL bouncing the fucking ball. Ooh, do it enough times, they're an expert at bouncing the ball off their nose. Now go tell it to do something that's never had to do before or wasn't trained to do before. It's like, not so expert, really. No, a true expert is someone who knows how to think critical about issues and think on the fly. Doesn't have to just rely on repeating and regurgitating political talking points that were jammed in their head. You have to be able to think critically about issues on the fly. That's, to me, what we consider, what the kind of person I would consider an expert. Not someone that could just repeat and regurgitate bullshit, right? It's expert. They fucked you over. Oh yeah, they fucked me over big time, Derek. I know it's crazy, but like I say, it is what it is. Just like when my house was fucked over and people stole my ATV, like, you just got to get over these things and move on, because if you dwell on them constantly, then it will beat you down. I mean, if I did, my hair would be fully white probably by now. Right? I give myself plenty of downtime. I know, well, I mean, not so much that I have a tremendous amount, because I keep myself obviously pretty busy, and I just got to move on. Even times where I get pissed off and upset about stuff, of course in the moment, but then you just got to put it in the past, move on, because I don't want to carry that kind of baggage, right? Now I want you to stuck your head out the window and shout, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value. I'm a human being. They love to program people's perceptions. Yes, they do. Authority, use our fear to control. Yep. Sina Algeria, thanks for joining the chat. Manipulate us. Their plan is problem, reaction, solution. Yeah. February 7th, I called CBSA. I had a friend coming back from China. They told me he didn't have to worry and nothing about self-isolate. The government is negligent or complicit, in my opinion. Wow. It's crazy. I got warnings on my phone today and yesterday about travelers. Really? I never get any of that stuff. Hey, Tyler Lewis. I don't know how long has he sent this. Let me see. 2:24. What time is it? Oh, it's not too long ago. Might still be in the chat there. Hey, what's going on, Tyler? DP? I used to work with Tyler a few years ago. Actually, it was one of the jobs I had when I moved up to Ontario. I went into construction because, like I say, that was my thing. When I was a young man, I was into construction and stuff and working in lumberyards and stuff like that. So I kind of went into that after I lost my whole thing with the truck driving. But me and Tyler, we worked together at Royal Distributing. I used to run a small shop here in New Brunswick, and Royal Distributing, I'd order a lot of parts from them. And I've always been into machines anyways, racing cars, bikes, sleds, ATVs, all kinds of stuff. And it didn't pay much. The pay was pretty crap, but it was an environment that I really enjoyed, because you're dealing with people that are interested in the same kind of things you are. So yeah, a lot of discussions, a lot of great customers, some pretty hectic days there. When we would have the tent sales, we would have two, one in the spring and one in the fall. We would have what we call tent sales, and Tyler knows well about that. What was it, 80 some? I remember one week it was 84.5 hours. So basically little over 2 weeks of work in 1 week. And you would think, yeah, making lots of coin. No, actually, it was funny because when I got my paycheck, because like I say, I was a truck driver. I made good money as a truck driver. But I remember even that week of putting in 84 hours at Royal Distributing, was like, what? Damn, I could do a trip down to Alabama and back, which would take you about 3 days if you right? And I could do that and make more than what this was basically working for two weeks. But hey, it paid the bills, kept the roof over our head. Well, because me and the wife were both working at the same time. But yeah, nice seeing the chat there, Tyler. Hope you're doing well, buddy. Hope you're doing well. I'm sure you are. I still see Kevin from time to time on Facebook making some posts. I see he's got a sweet girl he's got there. It looks like he was right in love. So good for him. Hopefully, you young guys are getting to the point where you're going to pop out some kids here soon, right? Create another generation of Canadians. Anyways, maybe well, I don't know if you're on Facebook or anything there, Tyler, but if you are any of the social media pages, look me up. Or actually, I might have your phone number. I can't remember if you gave me your phone number or not. Anyways, nice seeing you in the chat. Now they have the sheep blaming travelers for spreading this when Trudeau didn't want to isolate China as not to hurt someone's feelings. Yeah, wouldn't want to hurt anyone's feelings, right? Very useful, informative YouTube site. Dr. John Bergman. Okay, I'm not familiar with this one, but thanks for the heads up. Senate Alegria. No free men are equal. No equal men are free. Yep. Yeah, I know. To pretend that we're all equal is just insane, right? We're not all equal. I mean, come on. Anytime you've ever gone into any competitive venture, I mean, it's proven time and time again, right? There'd be not much point in having any competitive sports if we were all equal, right? Why would you want to be equal for someone when you could be better? Yeah. Well, that's what capitalism, right? That's the proper incentive. Now, it doesn't mean that this is a problem that people that are resentful, it's like, okay, if you can't be, but you can always better yourself, right? That's the thing. Even if you might not be able to make yourself better than someone else, and there's all kinds of ways that we can call better, like better in terms of competence in your job, or better at figuring out algebraic equations. I mean, there's all kinds of things that you can use or describe better. But yes, people should always strive for a higher attainment of anything, ethics, morality, even income, right? If you have more income, that makes you, if you have lots of income, like the more money I would have, the more I could spread that around to help people, right? So there's always a benefit with inequality and having the proper incentive structure. Inequality is great as long as the incentive structure is proper, because it affords everyone the opportunity to try better themselves. Whereas authoritarian collectivism, or this race to the lowest common denominator that's being touted today, is, well, that just assures that we're all equal, but at that lowest end, like down the bottom. And who wants to, like, no matter who you are, you don't want to be down there forever. Even like I say, even some of the least common people among us would, at least I would think, want to better themselves in some way. So that would mean they would want to increase or escape that kind of equality. If they tried in any way to better themselves in comparison to someone else, they're no longer part of that equity mindset, which is a good thing. People want to better themselves. It's a good thing. So yeah, good for pointing that out, Ian. Shutting down the economy is insanity. It sure is. What are the good freedom lovers to do? Well, that's the thing. The biggest thing, and I've said this for so long, and I guess it's such a simple answer. People are like, well, there's got to be a lot more we can do that. But I'm not kidding in any way when I say, because I've thought about this for years and years and years. Now, economic wise, yeah, finding ways to better your lot and not having your purchasing power devalued all the time, right? To protect yourself against the constant devaluation, like, so whether you have to find different havens in terms of, cryptocurrencies or gold or silver or commodities that aren't going to be so negatively inflated. Whatever you can do to protect, any capital, wealth, or income that you build up, I would say is important. But the most important thing we can do, if we want to get prosperity and have a proper foundation for flourishment of all peoples, the only thing that has to be done is getting people into the proper mindset of incentivizing. That was the thing. Now we all have to have some pretense of morality. That humans can't function in any kind of free society without a genuine understanding of morality. Now, like I say, historically, it would have been, well, actually, let me leave that up. Historically, it would have been God that was the pretense of our authority in terms of teaching us morality or ethics, right? That was that Christianity. Today, government, right? So government has now taken the place of being this abstract authority in terms of giving you morality or ethics. But the problem with government is, once again, it's a complete contradiction. If the Bible said that, morality, like don't hit, don't steal, but there was a clause underneath, like if the 10 commandments, right, other than let's compare the 10 commandments to, let's say, the Charter of Rights and Freedoms or the laws on the book in this country. If there was the 10 commandments that said don't use violence or don't steal or this, but then there was a subsection or a clause contained within it said, unless you're part of this group, right? If there's an exception there, you'd be like, well, then it's not a rule. It's not a principle. It's not a commandment if there's exception. The only reason why it's a commandment is because it's supposed to be universal. Everybody's supposed to not hit, not steal, right? Or covet thy neighbor's wife, or, all these things, right? The minute there's an exception, which is what government is. So to me, it's like, if you have to pick where your morality or your ethics come from, now I would say philosophy is a great way to attain that. And I believe libertarianism and even Ayn Rand's objectivism or Stefan Molyneux's UPB, I think we've all seen with somewhat clarity that you can make the case for a secular form of ethics, that we shouldn't hit and steal, and you can universalize that, right? So I think those steps have already been made, and it's just a matter of getting enough people to accept and adopt them and implement them into their own lives and make that as part of your community and part of your society. The more people that accept and adopt, right, self-ownership, property rights, and the non-aggression principle, well, then if you have, like, think about it. If you had even a small community of people who all believe that you shouldn't hit, you shouldn't steal, and nobody gets any exceptions, right? There's no get out of jail free card for anyone. If you had a community of people like that, there would never be such thing as government. You couldn't have it. They'd be like, okay, well, we can't set up a government then if we're all agreeing in this community that we're not going to use preemptive force or violence or coercion or theft against each other. Well, we can't set up this mystical entity that says that you can do that, right? So we'd be like, okay, we're going to agree. So rather than the false pretense of a social contract, what we would do is, these are just the rules. And the contract, we all have, if we're going to live in this community, we all actually have to, just like if you go to buy a car or something, you actually have to sign that agreement. You have to acknowledge, right? It's not just this false pretense that we're going to agree with it, which is why you would have to have multiple experiments, because not everyone's going to want to agree with libertarian values and principles. And the ones that don't, the ones that like using force, violence, or coercion against each other, okay, well, you just don't get to live in this community, right? So you just start local. You just get communities. You get people. That's how you do it. You get people in the more of a mindset where you're thinking more local, and you get it first in your families where it starts first, right? Actually, as Stefan Molyneux has said so many times himself, it really starts with your kids. That's the best thing you can do, is raise kids. Well, you have to adopt that mentality and that psychology and those principles yourself. But if you are adhering to your own principles where you're not using force, violence, or theft, right? Because that's the other thing. How many of us were raised by boomers that told us, don't hit, don't steal, while they were hitting and stealing, right? Hitting their kids and using government to steal from people. So it's like, no, you have to lead by example. And you have to make sure, like I say, it starts local, and then you expand that out. And once you see, because it's such an amazing recipe for success, and you've seen probably in your own life, if you've been a peaceful parent, you've seen that your kids turned out to be a whole lot better than the ones that were negligent or abusive. Well, once people see a winning strategy, well, they're going to want to gravitate to it, or at least the good people are. And that's what you want to surround yourself with, right? If you want to have a libertarian society, well, you have to lead by example, show that it works when you put it into practice, into fruition, and make sure that other people are willing to voluntarily interact and engage with you on that same premise. That's how you do. It's all in the mind. Freedom starts in our mind. Everything else will gravitate from there but you have to have, like I say, you have to have people that are willing to lead by example. You have to be willing to accept that there are rules. No rulers, but there are rules, right? Just like if you're going to sit down and play a board game. I like using this as a way to describe it. If you're going to sit down and play a board game, we won't even use any existing board games. Let's say someone wants to create a whole new board game. Well, what would you do if you were trying to create a board game, which is the same as a social experiment in the real world, if you think about it properly, is like if you're trying to set up a society or a board game, like I say, how would you do it? Well, you would all be, okay, well, we got to figure out what are the rules, right? Well, first of all, what's the game? What's the premise here? I would say people should be free to pursue happiness and meaning in their life. They should be able to be prosperous economically. They should be able to live freely as long as they're not using force or violence or theft towards it. So we'd be like, okay, that's what we want to do, right? Okay. Well, how do you make that happen? Well, then, okay. So theft, okay, one of the rules, rule number one, theft, it's wrong. It's immoral. It's illegal. I don't know, whatever you want to call it, right? So everyone has to agree, no theft. Fine. And the people that don't agree with it, I was like, oh, man, but I love the theft. Man, I like me some theft. All right. Well, you're not playing this game. Hey, look over there. There's someone else that are setting up some other board game. Maybe they want to play I don't know. It's an army game where all you do is just kill each other all the time, right? Oh, you go ahead and do that. But you don't do it here. Right? Just like in my fucking household. People can do all kinds of crazy shit. But if you want to come into my household, well, my rules. And it's not just my rules, it's universal rules. Actually, that's the best way to explain it. It's not my rules. It's in my household, we function under universal rules. There's no rulers in my household, but in my household, we function under universal rules. So I don't get to use theft or violence. Wife doesn't get, the kids. So it's just expand that out the community. And like I say, because it is such a successful strategy, and we all know it is, because most of us live that way the majority of our lives. You know damn well most of your daily interactions or your interactions with other people is done voluntarily. You're not using force or violence. And those are the relationships and the experiences that you have that are positive and conducive with people cohabitating peacefully with each other. If you're warring with each other, if you're stealing from each other, well, you're not going, that's not going to be a place that that's going to be conducive with peace or prosperity. Everyone's going to be trying to hide their shit or trying to steal. See, you just go back into the state of nature. So like I say, it starts in the mind, and you have to lead by example, and there has to be rules. And it's not a matter of imposing your rules on others, just saying that this is the rules for this jurisdiction. You don't have to abide by them, but you just can't do it here. That's all. Which is why property rights matter so much. Not government property, not the crown, but people that say, okay, this is an area, we're all going to have our property, we're going to respect each other's property rights. And within this property, so let's say you live on a cul-de-sac in a suburb. Each owner of each house has their property, but that cul-de-sac, that street, that's also part of the property. And it's not collectively owned because each individual owns their house. But if you look at it, it is a larger geographical area than one house. It just, nobody owns it. Nobody says, oh, we collectively own it. No, each individual owns a certain portion of that cul-de-sac, of that greater property, but everyone within it knows that there are restrictions. I'm allowed in my backyard, but I have to ask my neighbor if I want to go in their backyard. I don't get to just go back in my neighbor's backyard anytime I want. I have to ask permission. Like I say, it's just simple fucking rules. But because the rules have been set up under government to give people exceptions, well, the bad people are like, oh, okay, so I can move into this community. The current system, the way it's set up now, is everyone pretends that, well, you have to be peaceful towards each other, but there's an exception here. Well, the people that are moving into that jurisdiction, the minute they recognize, oh, there's an exception, I can move in this jurisdiction where everyone else in the jurisdiction is going to want to hold themselves to the principles because they're the ones that set it up originally that way. But hey, I'll tell them that I want to be like that too. But there's an exception that will give me the ability that I don't have to follow the rules. I can ignore the rules entirely. Well, the bad people, think about it. If there's an exception or you've left the gate open somewhere, well, the bad people, that's where they're going to find the way to get in there. So the rules have to be simple and easy to understand. They have to be universal, and people have to be willing to accept and adopt them voluntarily. Then you get an area or a jurisdiction where you do have a libertarian society. Doesn't have to be forced or imposed. Doesn't mean that people have to corral anyone up. It's just an incentive. It's just incentive. People will automatically be incentivized. The good people will be automatically incentivized to move to a place that's more conducive with being moral and ethically consistent. Whereas the bad people, well, they'll gravitate to the, I don't know, the places that don't. It's just like everything we do every day. We make choices every day. And those choices are built on our own inherent morality, our ethics, and our own principles. That's all it is at the end of the day. Anyways, sorry. So that was a bit of a long answer. I know, terrible. I know. Wife tells me all the time, can you just shorten up your answers? If I could just be a little shorter with your answers. And I know that is a problem for me, but I hope I at least answered it for you, Derek. I'm not isolating either. Exactly. Okay. Back up here. There we go. All right, we're back up here. These collectivists don't care about the elderly, an excuse. The same people have no problem with abortion. Yeah, I know, right? I know, like the pretense that they're just doing to protect the elderly. What a fucking farce that is. I agree. What a farce. Equal in possession, in morality, and respect to treatment. Well, yeah, of course that does. Yeah, there is such thing of equal, right? Like you do have to be clear in this language. Thanks, Derek. Everyone's responsible for themselves. Yep, I agree. If you're afraid of getting sick, self-isolate. That's why I think there's some other agenda. They want us home and they were willing to shut down the economy. Anyways, I'm going to scroll through the comments here quick because like I say, I want to cover a few other articles. It's me, generation, mommy, daddy, I'm scared. Seriously, grow up, folks. Fuck. Bill Gates and UN want to bring universal ID so you can have no travel with it. Yeah. So you cannot travel with it. Yeah, I don't know. Could be 10 like. Oh yeah, by the way, yeah. Or 10 Ike. Oh, okay. I get it. You're telling me how to pronounce your name. Right on. 10 Ike. Thanks. Luke 10 Ike. Awesome. But yeah, those of you who are here still left here, would you mind hitting that like button? Just really helps a lot with the way YouTube does the whole thing, right? So it's, the more likes, click through rate, so you know how many times people just overpass your stuff if it's in the recommend section. There's ways that YouTube measures it, but yeah, the more likes the better, folks. The more times you can hit that like button, the better. And obviously subscribe if you haven't subscribed. I would imagine everyone that's here in the chat today though is probably already subscribed. But yeah, helping, that's another thing that helps a lot is the subscribe count. I said that about got long. They thought I was nuts so long. It's called white lab coat syndrome. Yeah. Or badge syndrome. Yeah. Costume. Yeah. Yep. It's crazy. People will subject themselves to people so willy-nilly if they believe that they're in a position of authority, right? Which is why it's so important, right? To remove that premise of just this abstract authority. It's just insane. And it's been a detriment for all of human history. I said this back in 2008. Education system focused on recall of information. Okay. Oh, good. So you should set your chat to chronological order instead of top chat. Oh, do I have it set to top chat? Well, no, what it is, I'll tell you what it is. No, it is, I believe it is chronological. Yeah, no, it is chronological. I'll tell you what it is I can't keep the YouTube one open. It flows through smoother, but if I have both of them open because I have a terrible internet connection, it degrades the quality of my stream. So I use the StreamYards, which it's the same one. But what it is if I don't go through them quick enough, it just comes up with a little white rectangular box that says new comments. And when you go to click it, it goes way fucking, it just goes to all the new ones, but it goes to the newest one. And so then I got to start to scroll back up to find out where I was before. That's what it is. That's what's happened. Just to let you know. Yeah. Education system focuses on recall of information, not how to learn or interpret information. That's true. That's true, Luke. That's true. They're not teaching you how to think. They're teaching you what to think. But thanks for the advice, official. But like I say, that's what the problem is here. I'm going to try to. I'm getting down to that point again, and I'm going to try to see if I can get through this faster. Widespread form of crony capitalism is better than socialism, but still corrupt. Crony capitalism. Well, it was more like a crony capitalism. See, that's the thing. Using these terminologies anymore, it's kind of it's a mixed mash of all of it, right? Authoritarian collectivism, which is why I love using that term rather than socialism, communism, fascism, Nazism, or what do you crony capitalism? Because crony capitalism, corporatism, right? There's lots of different iterations and designs, but it's like saying the color blue, and then there's like light blue, navy blue, right? Royal blue. There's all different colors of blue, but they're all blue at the end of the day. So, like I say, pick your poison. Socialism, communism, fascism, Nazism, democracy, right? It's still the pretense of majority or mob rule and sacrificing the individual for the greater good of the collective, right? Now, historically, there was always the pretense in Western societies that they're still going to have some form of government, but we're going to restrict ourselves and contain ourselves to respecting individual rights. But as we've seen, it's words written on parchment or paper doesn't mean a whole lot when you give people the ability to use or to have or to possess that much power. To think that people will willy-nilly restrict the power when they have the ability not to, it's like, that's placing way too much trust and faith in people that are seeking power in the first place, right? Because that's the thing. You got to think about the kind of people that want to be in positions of power. They're seeking power. So if they're seeking power, you're really quite naive if you think that once they do get in that position of power, that they're going to restrict or contain themselves. Like, sorry, but people who seek power are not quite that disciplined, right? West is practicing. Okay. Bailouts of companies were used to share. Yeah. Bailouts of companies were used in share buybacks to increase share price and enrich execs who own stock options. Now we bail them out again. 100% true. 100% true. That's where all those ill-gotten gains went to, were the very corrupt among us, the very people that placed the economic system in such a precarious situation, prior to the financial crisis, are the very people that got the fucking bailouts, right? It's unbelievable. Look what Soviet Russia did to the Ukraine in the 1930s. Yeah. They took their crops and left the Ukrainians. Yeah. The kulaks or whatever they call them, right? Yep. Taking over the means of production, especially when you're talking about food production. Wow. That's what I worry about here in Canada next, is because that's the thing. If government, that's the thing. They kind of already do in Canada have somewhat control over the means of production, but it's more of the fascistic model rather than direct government ownership of the means of production. It's done by way of policy or regulation or legislation, because that was the big difference between the fascist model and the more communist model as practiced under, let's say, Russia. It was, rather than take over the means of productions directly, you just make sure that you can leave the person as the figurehead to control the business or the corporation. You just control them by way of legislation or policy, because you get the same thing. Whether I'm controlling a puppet or I'm the one directly, whether I'm controlling the puppet that's controlling the levers, or I get rid of the puppet and control the levers myself, at the end of the day, I control the levers, right? That's what it comes down to. I disagree. It's not all over the place. Okay. And okay, he's pretty right in his assessment, but I'm referring to his reading of the chat. Yeah, I'm not great at that. That's for sure. I'm trying to. Okay, I strongly suggest you share this awesome video with everybody too. He's covering everything so intelligently. Well, thank you very much, Gisela. I'm trying. I actually am not doing as good today as I was kind of hoping. That's the thing. Some days I have good days. Some days are not the greatest, but today's okay. It's an okay day, but really appreciate your compliment. Interesting theory. And yeah, definitely I like when people share the video. And like I say, it's not just for my ego. Like, people think that I just do this for my ego. It's like, come on. I mean, do you really think that I have no way to film come on. There's lots of things. I mean, just my racing stuff alone. I mean, if I was a guy that just wanted to brag all the time and fucking fill my ego up, I mean, I would be doing shit that makes me like people hate on me all the time. I'd be doing stuff where it's like people would be talking, like if I talk about racism, nobody gets offended about that, right? I'd have way more people watching my videos actually. So it's like, I don't do this to fucking, it's just that I know for me and my kids and my grandkids, when they finally come, for anyone to have freedoms, like, and also, like I admit, I do it for my own selfish reason. I want to be free. I want my kids to be free, and I want my grandkids to be free ultimately. So yeah, it's somewhat selfish because I want freedom for myself. But it's not about my ego. It's just that I recognize that if I don't do what I can do to and because I recognize that I'm pretty good at understand these concepts. I don't know. Somehow I was born with a fucking brain that I can help. I can figure some of this stuff out pretty good. So it's like, well, why not offer my help, my services in any way so that, like I say, so it'll benefit me, but by natural extension, it benefits lots of other people too, right? Same with people like Stefan Molyneux. I mean, come on, like people even fucking insult the guy constantly all the time, but the guy's done, like he's written many books, all put out there for free. That's the thing. Like it's really tough when the people that are trying to help educate and inform is like, we're basically constantly like held to a standard of perfection, insulted and derided by so many people. When at the end of the day, it's, if you realized us, well, especially if you knew us in our personal lives, me in particular, I can't speak for everyone else, but if you knew me in my personal life, you realize that actually, no, if Bennett was just, all about filling his ego up or swelling his head, it wouldn't be doing what I'm doing, right? It not this kind of stuff, not talking about philosophy and dealing with the kind of shit that I deal with on a regular basis, because it's actually done the exact opposite for me. I've lost fucking friends and people that I used to associate with because of this. So if I was just caring about, being popular, well, I definitely wouldn't be doing exactly what I'm doing now. That's for sure. Anyways, just wanted to get that little rant out there. I won't even bring that one up official. No need of that there, man. Man or woman. I'm not even sure if you're a man or woman, to tell you the truth. I never seen if there's a picture, profile picture on your. We need to get the world out of wake up. Hey, people, we can. We need a movement outside. Yeah, party politics. Politics isn't going to change things. Yeah, no. You have to change the culture. Like I say, I can't say it enough, is you have to change the culture. Like I say, you got to get people thinking about these values. Like I say, do your own thing. If you want to promote some of the principles of Christianity, just make sure that nobody's getting any exceptions, right? Or free market capitalism, or just volunteer. Like all you're doing is expand upon. Like I prefer philosophy, because philosophy is the pursuit of knowledge and truth, and then you don't have to rely on any abstract entities that don't actually exist, right? Like God or government. That's at least concepts that are universalized. Like math is actually an abstract. There's no, like, you can't point to math, but it's so easy to figure it out, where you don't need, like I say, you don't need a God or government to know that math is legit, because you just got to take two things. Like if you want to know that 2 + 2 is 4, you just take two things and add them together. If you know like 1, 2, 3, 4, like if you know how to count, right? So ethics, like I say, how you come about them or how you implement them, that's up to each individual, but they have to be universalized. There can't be any exceptions. Leeches cannot expect. See, there's what happened again. See, I just see good times in the chat. I just went down, I hit that thing again, and now it made me go way down too far. Okay, I'm going to go back. Okay, I'm almost at the bottom. We are so lucky that those caring, compassionate individuals If you control distribution, do you not control production? Because isn't distribution morally? Well, it depends on what you're talking about there. And does demand not control production? Demand control production? It depends. It depends on what you're talking about, because if someone invents something, right, there's no demand. Like there was never a demand for an iPhone until the iPhone was actually invented and created. So it was actually the invention itself that created the demand. Some things, yes, there's a demand. Like there's an automatic demand for food. But it doesn't necessarily mean that the demand is going to control production. It can, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that's the case. Who knows about the RCMP buying up a lot of ammo before the coronavirus scare? Not sure. I didn't really hear about that one. Never heard of anything about it. I don't think you lose friends for telling the truth. I think you lose friends. Huh? Hey, whatever. Whatever. Well, I can here. See, you're someone that doesn't know me from a hole in the ground, and you're putting forth that premise. But what I would say, and what I would suggest, because I've lived my life and I know the history of it, and so does everyone that's known me, right? So hey, if you think I'm lying, ask anyone that's ever known me. I was super popular. Okay. Like I say, I had some of the fastest cars out there when I was living in Toronto, ride street bikes. I can pull wheelies on shit for miles on it. I was and used to club in the teen years. It was pretty easy for me to get some ladies. I had the ladies give me some attention when I was younger, and those times it was easy to have as many friends as one. But what I recognize is every time I wanted that amount of friendship is I had to sacrifice who I was as a person to align or appeal to everyone based on what they would prefer to see me as, right? So I know the recipe, but the only time, like I say, that has changed in my life where I have lost friends is when I try to hold people to a standard that society has tried to hold me to, which is perfection. Because like I say, every time in my life when people have tried to drag me down, it was because I wasn't being a perfect human being. So I was like, oh, so that's how society is. Flip the fucking script. But once the script is flipped on other people, all of a sudden they don't. Oh, what? You don't want it? What? You want to hold everyone else to perfection, but you don't want to be. Oh, this is what it is. But I mean, if you want to believe, that's what I mean. I'd like to see what you actually look like. Official blasphemy, because I'm not worried about people seeing who I am or what I look like or my physical stature or prowess. Why? Because I'm very self-confident that way. So there's nothing you can do to bring me down in that way, but I mean, you can believe whatever you want. When the chips are down, people turn into savages. Yeah, you're more, like I don't even know why I wasted any time in that. If you want to believe that it's because I have an attitude that I just displayed, here you are in the chat. Like, hey, watch out there. How many people that I don't like or respect, watch how many times I'm on their channel. Why the fuck are you on here? Like, if you don't like me, if you think I got a bad attitude, like I don't hang around. See, that's the thing. Historically, I might have done that, right? To be part of the group, I might have been willing to put up with some assholes in the group just because, well, I want to be part of the group, right? I don't do that. No, I like I say, I'm more than willing to have less friends if I don't have to race down to their level. So I don't know. You seem to like coming to my channel all the time. That's all I would say. RCMP is an auxiliary force, Canadian force. Yeah. YouTube site Amazing Polly talked about event. Oh, I don't know about the event 201. Haven't really get into that one. What's wrong with you? That's all good, Gisela. Don't worry. And that's another thing I'll point out too, especially for anyone watching this. And I appreciate the people that do that. Like I really do. But if someone starts to insult me on social media or here, just let me do it. I don't need, because that's the thing I've always found. It's quite weak because I get it all the other time in reverse. So I'll say something and get into an argument, let's say a Twitter argument or something, which is usually a waste of fucking time. And then they'll go and recruit like 3 or 4 or 5 of their friends to come and gang up on me. If there's one thing I'm against totally, is, yeah, I don't need anyone to defend me. I can do that all on my own. But I appreciate it. Not saying anything. Like I say, appreciate that. But yeah, I'll defend myself. I'm not too worried about people calling me names. Like I say, if I was worried about people calling me names, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. That's for damn sure. Or if I was easily triggered, as some people suggest. Why would I place myself if I'm one of those people that are easily triggered or something, why would I put myself in a position where that's going to be conducive, right? Glutton for punishment, perhaps? Hey, thanks, Tommy Gunn. He is. I have been listening to him for years, and I can tell he's. Well, thank you, Giselle. Well, that is one thing. Honest, and even like I say, even people that have known me through the course of my life, they'll tell you the same thing. Honest to a fucking fault where I've caused harm for myself just by being goddamn honest. That is 100% true. I was that kid even that would tell on myself to my mother and my father and get a spanking or a whipping or whatever. But it was my grandmother. I have my grandmother. Ultimately, I have my grandmother and those values that she taught me and the importance of telling the truth. Like I say, my grandmother was very religious and very, she lived, like I say, she didn't just read the Bible and read those principles and those great stories. She lived them, I mean, to a T, basically, to the point where I think a little bit too much to the extreme, but yeah, she lived them. And I guess I kind of adopted that a little bit in my own life because she was, like I say, she was a very important influence on me. And the other thing I always said, and like I've said this to many of my friends and my wife and my kids too, is the beautiful thing about being honest is, yeah, it could get you in trouble at times, but then you're not one of those people that has to constantly remember the fucking lies. Cause that's the thing when I've been around people that lie all the times, like, you kind of not bring it up to make them feel uncomfortable or embarrass them. But there's so many times when people that are just liars or exaggerate the truth all the time, where it's like, they prove all the time because they're not confident enough, or I mean, nobody I think has the memory bank or capacity to keep all your lies in check if you're a liar. So if the minute you keep showing that you're a liar because you tell the same story, but with different, right? Like the story changes every time you change or you tell it. I was like, well, now you're destroying your credibility. And to me, because I don't have money, like I've never been rich. I don't go out to use just like physical violence to intimidate people or anything. So all I've really had at the end of the day, for the most part for me, is that thing that my grandmother instilled, which is like trust and like the reputation of being honest. That's all I really have at the end of the day, which is why when people attack my character or my reputation, that does bother me a lot because, like I say, I work hard. I put myself through a lot of hell and suffered a lot of shit by me holding myself to a ridiculous standard of being honest and forthright. So it's not like I don't put myself through that hell for someone to just turn around and try to destroy all that work that I put in. Right? It's like so. So, anyways, keep past that. But thanks again, Giselle and Tommy. Appreciate both. Rudy truckers are equal important as doctors and nurses. If they stop driving or can't deliver food, we have a civil war. As a former trucker, I can understand why those people never get supported. Oh, I can't understand. I'm right with you there, Rudy 100%. Yeah. That's that video that, if you haven't already, I had a video that I uploaded this morning. Yeah, I know I'm getting back into doing a lot of videos again, but I mean, a lot of stuff's happening, taking place. So I like I say, I just can't help. I feel compelled to do this, right? I just, like I say, it's the right thing to do, and I'm going to do the right thing especially if I have the opportunity to do so. But yeah, I'm with you. Like truck drivers, I mean, they do run up and down the road, keeping the economy humming, and just like other people was pointing out, like I said, truck drivers, retail workers, especially those in the grocery stores these days that are keeping everyone's bellies full and all that stuff. And the farmers, don't forget about the farmers, because actually even the grocery stores. Them grocery stores would be the shelves would be empty if it weren't for the farmers or people that are producing the food, or the factories that does the. So a lot of people, basically what I've expanded out to now is basically anyone that's part of the supply chain or part of the private sector that's actually either producing or adding value into it. So whether you're the farmer that grows the potato or the company that produces French fries or hash browns, right? All the people that have made that possible are the ones that are the true heroes in society. Like one thing, like I said, even on my last stream, is A lot of these government workers, and I'm not talking about doctors and nurses, because the only reason why doctors and nurses work for government because we live in a socialist healthcare system. So they don't have the option to be privately funded, right? But even I'm sure a lot of them would choose to be privately funded and have set up their own clinics and set up the rules the way they'd rather have it set up. But because you're in Canada, you do have to function. But yeah, anyone that's providing a valuable service, definitely. I mean, those are the people who are the unsung heroes. But the majority of the bulk of those who work for government in some capacity, yeah, you'll see a lot of them are all right now, all on paid vacation. Are you noticing anything? I'm not. Like I say, but if I went to the grocery store and there was no groceries on the shelf, I'd be like, oh shit. The farmers, like I say, the retailers, all the people that are part of that chain that brings the grocery store to exist, those are the people I would definitely notice if there was a breakdown in that, right? But government services, the overwhelming majority of them, they could end most of those programs right now, and most of us would never even notice, right? We'd go about our daily lives and duties and be like, oh, really? You mean they shut down the entire, like, if you went and drove your car every day and once a year, you're like, gee, wasn't I supposed to go re-register my vehicle? I mean, I know I already had to pay $100 and some to do it last year, but I used to have to take, time out of my day and $100 and some out of my paycheck to go and re-register my car that's already registered. Nothing changed. All I do is get a different piece of paper. But imagine if you didn't have to do that this year because government shut down motor vehicle registration. Or you would still have your motor vehicle registry. You would still know that you own a vehicle. You'd still be able to drive your vehicle back and forth to work, right? You'd still be able to do all those things that you need or require. But there would just be no need or requirement to go to this government thing and hand over a bunch of your money for basically nothing other than keeping some bureaucrats in a job that's making a whole lot of money, right? Overpaid and underworked. So yeah, that's one thing I said even in a couple other past videos is hopefully people will recognize just how unnecessary a lot of these government departments or services truly are. You'll find out, people will find out you don't need government for very much. Matter of fact, I say you don't need it at all, but even for some of the people that say you need it for very, very minimum requirements, well, you might be able to make an argument for military. We can get into that debate, but the overwhelming majority of those 4.1 million workers for government are absolutely unneeded and unnecessary. And like I say, they could all retire tomorrow, and most of us would never notice the difference. Paul Lucas. Hey, what's going on, Paul Lucas? I see him in my sleep. I hear him on the news. I see him on TV. Justin Trudeau. I see his ruination of my country right before my eyes. How can I not let my obsessive hate for the man ruin me? Oh, I hear you. Well, that's the thing. You are going to have those moments, especially when people are doing things so outrageous. It just means that you have a moral compass, like that there's something within you that recognizes when immoral acts are taking place. So for you to get upset about it, that's completely normal. Just don't delve into it too long. I say if it's starting to get to the point where you're feeling down in your own mind, go do something else. Put yourself in a better mindset. And especially if you got loved ones in your life, just recognize, like, what's more important. If I'm miserable, and especially if you're around other people, well, I'm going to make them miserable too. Or maybe I might take out my frustrations or anger on those other people. So put yourself in a good mental position, or surround yourself with people that will help you in that way. And don't let it, because if in reality you're allowing them, if you allow them to get in your head, if you allow Trudeau to get that far into your head and stay there for that long, he's fucking winning. Because like I say, we all of this stuff, it all comes in our mind. Like that's how they control us. It's through our mind. They don't control us today through our physical bodies. There's just not enough military or police out there to control us all through the physical means. They do it through our mind, which is why you have to really be wise enough and resilient enough to make sure that you keep a large portion of your mind free, open, and unfettered. Like I say, you're going to have to delve into it. You're going to have to put up with the stench from time to time. You're going to have to deal with some of the things that Trudeau's got to say, but step back far enough away from that from time to time that you recognize that now you don't got that kind of power over me, fucker. Fuck you, Trudeau, right? Don't give Trudeau that much power, Paul. Don't dare give Trudeau that much power, because he sure shit doesn't deserve it. Oh yeah, yeah. I comment on CBC Facebook posts. That's the only place that you can. Where well, actually, I don't know if they delete comments over there, but wow, some of those CBC articles, oh, especially when you hear the way they talk about. Oh, let me get back to something here, folks. Sorry, I wanted to cover something here because this wasn't CBC, but wow, and like I don't know who the hell this. I don't know. I'm sorry if I covered this in my last stream. I don't remember if I did or not. I'm going to share it on the screen, but listen to the fucking goddamn. Wow. Where is it? Yeah, right here. So I don't know if you folks have seen this or not, but it's a Financial Post. And usually the Financial Post, the bulk or the majority, no, I should say the majority actually, but a substantial portion of the contributors to the Financial or the National Post are people that would, predominantly be more market oriented, capitalist, more free market-ish, like more I don't know, conservative, or even some. I would suggest a couple of them even seem somewhat libertarian. Like, is it John Robson? In some things, he seems somewhat libertarian, or definitely free market capitalist for sure. Seems to be a big proponent. But yeah, but they still have contributors that are obviously have quite an authoritarian streak within them as well. So if you look at this, like I say, this Diane Francis one here is to beat this coronavirus, we must sacrifice our freedoms. Really? Really, do we? South Korea, China, Singapore, and Taiwan have demonstrated that draconian methods like tracking people with technology work, right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure Hitler and Mussolini and Stalin or Mao or any other fucking dictatorial regime or leader made the same goddamn argument. Hey, it's effective, right? Yeah, it's pretty effective. If you're very authoritarian, you lock down your entire society, or like in China, where you're welding everyone into their buildings, right? Yeah, if you do, it can be effective. But what the fuck? Like I say, this woman doesn't seem to realize is, what if then you no longer live in a society of free people? So what? Oh, look, we've destroyed all their freedoms and liberties, but we stopped the virus. But now you live in a country where no threat of a virus, but there's no such thing as freedoms anymore. What kind of people want to live? Oh, well, it's a good thing I don't have to worry about the coronavirus that has a 1%, a 1% lower than even what, like I say, the typical flu season brings in terms of deaths and illnesses, right? But we've managed to escape that 1% of the population that if it does get the virus, it's going to, die. But we're 100% enslaved, both socially and economically, and can't do a goddamn thing without asking government permission. We're all basically, you know what? Hey, Diane, you can lock, if you build enough jails and cells, you could lock all 37 million Canadians in them individually, isolated. And you know what? If everyone's locked down in their own jail cells, isolated off from each other, we don't have to worry about the coronavirus either. And you know what? I can tell you 100% that would work. But then what the fuck, right? Like I say, those who choose to give up essential liberties, right, for security, well, what was it, Jefferson? You end up with neither. Diane, what the fuck is like? I just like, wow. Anyways, yeah, I'm not going to read the article, but yeah, what a headline. Yeah, that we should all willingly give up and sacrifice our freedoms, right? For what, Diane? Jesus Christ. Where the fuck do they find these people to contribute? I mean, good for them for allowing them freedom of speech and all, right? And like I say, I would say, yeah, of course you should be allowed to say what she's got to say, but should anyone respect this woman? I mean, like I say, unless you're Hitler's nephew, right? Hitler might like her. Hey, if Hitler was alive today, he'd be like, yeah, Diane, you go, girl, right? Fuck. Anyone else in this country, though? Now, you should fucking treat her with the kind of disdain that she rightfully deserves for putting forth such a premise in the first place. Ridiculous. Can't believe anyone would even fucking have the gall to say such a fucking thing, right? What the fuck? She wouldn't have a gall to say something like that if we lived in a place where she didn't feel so entitled, right? Didn't have big government to protect her from anyone that would truly be a threat. No way would she have the fucking courage to say that shit if she could be held to account for, oh, you're promoting authoritarianism and violence and oh, really? Well, hey, there's some people out there in society that would take you up on that fucking offer there, Diane, and you might suffer as a consequence of that. So careful what you promote there, girl. Dipshit. Okay, where else are we at here? So yeah, I already covered, CMHC add another $100 billion worth of mortgages. So just to let you know, because I covered this many times in the past, and for those of you who maybe haven't seen it before, or no, I'm pretty sure most of you have. Anyways, is the banks all got bailed out in Canada. So all of the 6 big banks in Canada got bailed out to the tune of $114 billion after the financial crisis. It was reported on once. I've covered it many times in the past. I've got it pinned even on my, I think it's on my Canadian Libertarian Facebook page where it's pinned right to the top. So all you got to do is go to the page. It's right there. And watch the video, read the articles, and you know with 100% certainty, yes, the banks are bailed out. $114 billion. Trudeau, and that was because of the financial crisis that was touted as if we don't save the financial system, well, the West, we're all fucked. The entire economy of the entire Western world is going to collapse, or the entire global economy is going to all collapse. So we have to do these ridiculous bailouts. $114 billion. Well, because of a virus that's come around or come to our shores that has a 1% rate of death, well, that $114 billion pales in comparison. They're already at $150 billion that Trudeau is basically saying that the banks can recapitalize because the Trudeau Liberals has taken $150 billion worth of mortgages off the bank's books, which think about how kind of fucked up that is. Wait a minute. My contract is with the bank. That's the thing. Think about this, folks. You signed a contract with the bank. When you bought your house, you signed a fucking contract. And you probably didn't read all those disclaimers when you signed the contract, although you might have had a lawyer do so. But I guarantee you within that contract, it said nothing where the government was going to be the one that you have to pay back, right? That's going to assume control. So if you want to sue these banks, because it's these banks, right, that your contract is with, and the fact that they're allowing government to take them over, oh yeah. Like I say, there's a lot of fallout that's going to take place. And already there's some hedge funds in the US because of the way these mortgages are taken off the books of the banks. And now the banks of Canada are seemingly getting this bailout once again. But because of the US, the Federal Reserve helped bail out those banks. The Federal Reserve was one of the contributors. It was the IMF, the Federal Reserve, and the Bank of Canada that capitalized and bailed out those banking institutions. And now it's not the Fed. It's some of those banking institutions in the U.S. that are now suing these bankers, or it's the Department of Justice. Like I say, I've been reading so much. Anyways, something is happening, taking place, where the U.S. is suing these Canadian banks because of what they're trying to do right now by fudging the numbers and taking $150 billion. Like I say, Canadian taxpayers and the unborn were forced to recapitalize and bail these fuckers out to the tune of $114 billion. And now they're going to get an extra $150 billion. So take 114 and 150, that's $264 billion. That's over a quarter of $1 trillion now. And that was just after the crisis. So in like what? A decade, 12 years, 2 times now, $250 billion is being used between banks and big government, fudging numbers and manipulating the economy to such a massive and profound degree. That is fucking crazy, folks. That is absolutely nuts. Okay. So yeah, $150 billion, just that alone. And that's just $150 billion. That's just what's going, right? Trudeau is adding hundreds of billions of dollars already, and he's on a spending spree because he's been given, and the Conservatives allowed it, the NDP allowed it, the Greens allowed it, all the parties there in Ottawa and Parliament allowed it, and the Senate, for him to have unlimited spending powers in terms of debts and deficits between now and June. So already, like I say, hundreds of millions of dollars already. And where does it come from? Oh, that future money tree, which represents the productivity of the unborn, right? That's where it's coming from. Okay, so we covered the BC assuming control over the supply chains. Oh, yeah, and this here. Oh, yeah, did you folks see this? Actually, I covered this, but let me, This stream will probably be demonetized anyways, so let me put this up here and share it with you. We'll play. It's just a couple minute segment. Share screen. Yeah, let's check this out together here. Okay. Make sure it's working. Yep. Now, let's see how this is going to play, though. Without, is it going to come through my speakers? Hold on. All right.
For the time being,
another business shuts its doors.
we just decided not everyone was going to continue to be comfortable working in this situation.
While others struggle on.
I said to my team, I will pledge to pay you. I don't want you to have to go on employment insurance, so I will pay you.
But nearly all agree the government's initial offer to subsidize wages at 10% was not enough.
That's not going to cut it. It's not going to be significant enough for employers to be able to hang on to their workers to ride out the economic crisis that's coming alongside COVID-19.
It's becoming clear that we need to do more, much more. So we're bringing that percentage up to 75% for qualifying businesses.
It's an approach taken by
I love it. We need to do more. Who's fucking we, Trudeau? Are you taking any of the money out of your fucking trust fund to pay for any of this shit? No, you're forcing the unborn to pay for it. Oh, how benevolent of you. That's the thing that people, listen, when you're out there and you're going to work or hanging around people and stuff, listen, can you point out the very fact that it's the unborn? Because the debts and deficits like already are at a level that, like I say, if we were all taxed at 100%, we couldn't pay it all off. Those of us who are alive today. That's how fucking devastating the debts and deficits are in this country, and the outstanding costs that are going to be incurred for those massive unfunded liabilities. Because that's the thing with the stock market taking the shit kicking. There's a lot of these pension funds that are back way underwater again too. Because that's the thing. These debts and deficits aren't even taking into account some of those promised or unfunded liabilities because they pretend that they're funded based on market capitalization on the stock market. But if the stock market takes a shit kicking, well, that speculative wealth that was supposedly saved up to pay out those benefit packages, well, that ceased to exist. It disappeared like a fart in the wind, right? So, no, there's a lot of money that's going to be thrust. And like I say, either the entire economy has to crash and a whole new financial system has to start up, which is going to be pretty difficult for successive generations to do, or this is going to be imposed on them. One way or the other, they're imposing these things on other people and acting as if they're benevolent by imposing these costs on the unborn. What a bunch of crooks.
By many European countries, Canada's wage subsidy is somewhere in the middle of the pack, which runs from 60% in Germany to 90% in Sweden. Phyllis Bright's flag store in Edmonton is closed, but she decided to keep paying her 3 employees. Flag store in Edmonton is Germany to...
So look at that. So Germany's given 60% wage subsidy, Ireland 70, Denmark 75, Canada 75, UK 80, Norway 80, France 84, Sweden 90. Look at all these countries, wage subsidies. Think about how much, like I say, who the hell is paying for this? I mean, government, everything government gets, how does government get money? Through taxation. But yet, do you see your taxes going up to pay for any of this? No. Not even close to be able to subsidize people to the tune of 75% of their wages. Wow. Anyways, let's just finish this. It's only
90% in Sweden. Phyllis Bright's flag store in Edmonton is closed, but she decided to keep paying her 3 employees out of her own savings.
I have to admit, when I did my payroll on Wednesday, I was very depressed. When I heard it at 9 o'clock our time this morning, I was ecstatic.
This store was ordered to close on March 24th, and for its owners, the new change won't be enough.
When we got the announcement, unfortunately, we did lay off the staff. We had to choose to do that.
Today's announcement won't bring them back.
We are still looking at other measures that the government has promised, but the details are still TBD. I'm hoping that over the weekend we'll hear more. And that will change, hopefully, our stand.
Today's change has been widely welcomed. Wages are the biggest expense for most small businesses. Next week, though, many face another big challenge. Rent comes due. Evan Dyer, CBC News.
Tell you, turning even fucking private business owners into socialists is what they're doing. Just totally destroying the incentives, the proper incentives in this country. Devastating, folks. Absolutely devastating. Like I say, this is going to have very profound ramifications going forward, because once you get people starting down this road and destroying, like I say, destroying entire segments of the economy and making people reliant on a government check, fuck. You know those habitual, especially, well, you know, in the big city, I you know, don't know all of my neighbors, don't know too much personally about them, but I can tell you in the rural communities, yeah, everyone knows everyone's business. And yeah, I've grown up and I've watched it myself. The people that get caught in that welfare trap, right? Their parents went on it, their kids went on it, and I've seen now third generations of people where all three generations of them have never worked an honest day in their life and just plopped out enough kids whether they could get the big government checks and, you know, prescription paid for, dental paid for. That's the thing. Once you've kissed the ring and bowed to your political master, oh, they'll take care of you all right, just enough to keep you conformist and compliant and under their thumb. But because you are being taken care of to a substantial degree, at least, and you don't have to go out and be productive, people make that mental calculation and say, well, yeah, it sucks. I know it's a terrible thing to be a parasite, but hey, sure shit better than going out and running up down the road to go to work. Look at those suckers having to go work all day long when I could just sit here and get more than what they get. That's the thing. While me and my wife, especially living here in New Brunswick, were going to work, whether it was when I was driving long haul, we knew of people in our very communities. We knew of people that had, like, you know, let's say 3, 4, or 5 kids. And you know how them child tax credits, not just your welfare check. Actually, the welfare check is still a pretty big one, but it's those child tax credits or benefits that add really up to the point where some of them are getting like $3,000 a month. So that's basically like you taking home $750 a week. Take home, right? After taxes, take home $750 a week. A lot of people in where I am in New Brunswick travel, you know, substantial distances into the city and places to work for a lot less than that even. You know, maybe you're only making $300, $400, or $500 a week. But yet they do it. You know, they continue to convince themselves to keep doing it because at least they perceive most people, because when they're doing it, they recognize most people in society or most people in their community are willing to do as well. So they're like, yeah, I don't like the fact that those fucking parasites right there, but at least the majority of us still have the right incentives and are doing the right thing. Once you're that person that's making that travel, once you get to the point where we're alive today, where lesser and lesser of the people are the ones making that trip, and more are the ones that are sitting in their fucking living room windows waving as you're driving by in a winter snowstorm while they're in the comfort of their nice warm home, paid for and heated by big government. More and more of those people, right? And a lesser pool doing the productivity, going to work every day. Well, like I say, once you see that balance shifting to the point, there's a certain tipping point where even the most productive among us or the most ambitious among us, like I say, when does it change? 60-40, 70-30, 80-20, 90-10? Who knows exactly? There's no way to know exactly when that balance actually tips. But at some point in time, it is going to tip. And we've damn well got to be getting close to that point now, because look at how many people are willing to look for that handout from government. Even private businesses ordered. I've even seen the Conference Board of Canada, and these people that are all about, you know, businesses, small to medium businesses, are now all pivoted and turned towards big government to suckle on that teat. And I get it; they're desperate, but this is the incentive structure that we now function under. It's devastating, like I say, folks, devastating, and it's only going to get worse from here on out, because, like I say, it's really hard to get out from underneath that debt trap once you've started walking down that road. Okay, back to the comments. We have no rule of law, so what is this? Bennett versus socialist. Ding, ding. We have no rule of law now. So what is it from getting worse? There's never been a rule of law for those in power. That's the thing. I've said this before too, is the very people who are in government, the minute they hear that there's some small community of people that are claimed to be sovereign citizens or anarchists, they're like, oh, look at those bad people. They don't want to function under the rules of society. No, we can't put up with these people. We can't have people. Like, we all gotta fucking go by rules. Well, so it's such a, like, those people are projecting their own. Politicians function under a pure state of anarchy every day because they don't have to follow the rules that you and I do. Sure, we're held to account if we steal, right? If you went to your neighbor and stole something from your neighbor, oh, he's going to call you. You're going to be charged with a criminal offense and punished for doing so. But if the government steals from you, if a politician steals from you, no punishment whatsoever. They function under completely different rules. They can be as unethical, immoral, and do things as that you and I, like I say, if we did the exact same thing that they do, it's illegal. But when they do it, it's because they have the authority to do so. So they function under, listen, the people in government, they're not against anarchism. They're all for anarchism because that's how they live and function every day. They don't function under rules or rulers. And actually, a genuine, the meaning of anarchism is just the lack of rulers. But the politicians, the ruling class, they function under both, right? No rules or rulers because they are the rulers and they definitely don't have to follow any rules. Soylent Green. I don't think I've ever seen Soylent Green in the chat. Nice to see you there, Soylent. If you haven't hit like and subscribe to the channel already, please do so. I would really appreciate that. If you didn't make yourself useful, you were left to the wolves' natural selection. Yep. Yeah, you had to be, right? No matter what your history were, what your background, where you came from, your color, your creed, your tribe, none of that means shit. We've all had to be productive, right? Otherwise, we wouldn't never existed as a species if we weren't productive in some way. So yeah, 100% right on, Luke. Right on. Nobody talked about this North American Union. Well, it used to be tethered there for a while. I think we're kind of quasi almost along that scenario now as it is, but tell you the truth, if it was to take over, if I got to live on a tax farm or a plantation, like I've said before, I'll take the American one because at least you have at least the best chance of gaining your freedoms because of the First Amendment and the Second Amendment, and because it's still enough people in the country believe in them, right? It's changing every day. Like that balance is definitely tipping, but so far, right now in the U.S., there's still, I believe, the majority of the American people that still firmly believe in the First and Second Amendment, which that's the only way your freedoms actually exist. So, yeah. Freedom! Soylent Green. People watching this video, freedom, the rest of Canada, free stuff. Very weak. The only reason government controls us is because we let them. Yep. Well, not we. Not we. Gotta kind of get used to using the they when you're talking about that stuff there, Luke. I have to remind myself of that stuff all the time because that's the way we were all raised to think in such a collective mindset constantly, right? I don't blame people for it because, like I say, we've been taught since little kids to think it's such a collectivist mindset that it's very hard for us to discern the difference between us and the rulers because we're always taught to think about, and that's the nationalism thing, right? Is the we're all part of a big happy family or tribe, which obviously is not the case, right? But yeah, it's not we, Luke, it's they. Or it's not us, it's them. I don't let them, you don't let them. But yeah, like our neighbors and stuff, they let them, right? Some of my neighbors don't, some do. That's why the importance of pointing out the individuals, because then you don't have to, it's like saying it's the tree's fault. Or, I mean, it's the forest's fault. What, all of the trees? Or was there one tree that got, I don't know what, got some disease or whatever and spread it to the rest of them or whatever, right? But no, like I say, when you deal with people as individuals, that's a way to hold people accountable. Collectivism, and I did a video about this, actually, I think that was the name of it, is collectivism seeks to deny the individual because it destroys personal responsibility. That is like one of the biggest points in terms of collectivism is by referencing or referring to everything as the collective, then you literally obscure the individuals contained within it, right? So if you said, oh, those people, but meanwhile, there might be someone within that group of people that's saying, hey, I'm not part of it, but you'll never see them if you only perceive the group. But if you see recognize that they're all individuals, it's not just a group, it's not just a collection or a collective, it's a whole bunch of individuals within that collective. And look, there's a couple people within that collective that is disagreeing with the collective. The difference is those are the people that are being sacrificed at the altar of that greater good. So point out those two people and say, hey, come join us over here. You don't have to be just sacrificed or subjected to the collective. I'll respect you as the individual. That's what we got to do, folks. That's what we got to do. Get away from the collective mindset. We have to get away from the collective mindset. That's why, and people say, oh, well, you just want to be isolated and on an island all yourself. No, like I say, I got a wife, I got kids, I got friends. Like mostly now it's I would say associates. I got a couple of good friends that I grew up with that I would still consider friends to this day. But yeah, because I've had to move back and forth across the country, I kind of lost touch with a lot of people that were historically, I guess, my associates or people that I considered my friends and stuff. But yeah, we got to get back to acknowledging each other as individuals. That's really what's so important today. We have a government when it fears people, not the other way. Yep. Anyone wondering why Timmy's and Mickey D's are open? Yeah, right. I know. Like, is that considered an essential service, right? If I don't have my McDonald's, man, I'm not going to be able to make it, right? It's like, what the hell? How's that an essential service? It's so fucking insane. Which is why when they talk about this shit, or Tim Hortons, yeah, like Tim Hortons, oh, fuck, I know Canadians are fucking crazy for their Timmies, which, I mean, it's all right, right? But come on. You'll be okay if you don't get your Timmies. What the hell? It's insane. Yeah, great for pointing that out, Ian. I find that stuff quite insane myself. Not saying that they shouldn't be working. I'm just saying that based on the narrative, and I'm sure that's what you were referencing too. It's been massive mind control indoctrination throughout our socialist education, mainstream media to keep us dumbed down by design by the deep state for them to keep. Yep. Like I say, if you want to put into really good, a really, really well done perspective where you get the visuals, the audio, and a guy that's just really amazing at using our words and the language to describe things so meticulously, like I say, is The Story of Your Enslavement by Stefan Molyneux. That is probably one of the best videos. You know what? Maybe I should throw that on for those of you maybe who haven't. Yeah, let me do that. It's really hard to find though. Because like I say, this is probably not going to be monetized anyways. So yeah, but oh yeah, but okay. I think you have to find it in an actual. Yeah, it's so hard to find. It used to be easy. So ridiculous. Like it was so easy before to find his video. Now they've made it so obscure it's almost impossible to find.
This is the story.
Whoa, shit. Oh, I forgot to turn back my sound's probably been a little messed up there. Sorry, folks, because I had it on so that you can hear the video from that side too. It's for when I do interviews. It's a pretty cool mic. You can do a few different things with it. But anyways, let me share this here with you. Share the screen and let a few you just watch. I might not play the whole thing because it's a little bit longer, but it really, really, really. Hey, what's going on, Evada? Nice to see you. Wonder if you've touched down. Are you back in Canada yet? Just let me know in the chat there. Sorry, I haven't really got around to watching your videos much, but that site that I'm on there, was it BitTube or whatever? It's actually pretty cool. It's a pretty cool site. But yeah, hopefully you're touched down back in Canada and you made it safe and everyone's doing well. Like I say, I'm just going to play a video here because, like I say, this is one that when you start down trying to learn about things, like this thing kind of gives you that big macro picture so you can really put things into focus, right? And because that's the thing. If you're looking through tunnel visions, it's hard to see what's going on. But if you step back and you see the big picture, it's like, okay, now things are coming into focus. So let's start it up.
Of your enslavement, how it came to be, and how you can finally be free. Like all animals, human beings want to dominate and exploit the resources around them. At first, we mostly hunted and fished and ate off the land, but then something magical and terrible happened to our minds. We became, alone among the animals, afraid of death and of future loss. And this was the start of a great tragedy and an even greater possibility. You see, when we become afraid of death, of injury and imprisonment, we become controllable and so valuable in a way that no other resource could ever be. The greatest resource for any human being to control is not natural resources or tools or animals or land, but other human beings. You can frighten an animal because animals are afraid of pain in the moment, but you cannot frighten an animal with a loss of liberty, with torture or imprisonment in the future, because animals have very little sense of tomorrow. You cannot threaten a cow with torture or a sheep with death. You cannot swing a sword at a tree and scream at it to produce more fruit, or hold a burning torch to a field and demand more wheat. You cannot get more eggs by threatening a hen, but you can get a man to give you his eggs by threatening him. This human farming has been the most profitable and destructive occupation throughout history, and it is now reaching its destructive climax. Human society cannot be rationally understood until it is seen for what it is: a series of farms where human farmers own human livestock. Some people get confused because governments provide healthcare and water and education and roads, and thus imagine that there is some benevolence at work. Nothing could be further from the reality. Farmers provide healthcare and irrigation and training to their livestock. Some people get confused because we are allowed certain liberties and thus imagine that our governments protect our freedoms. But farmers plant their crops a certain distance apart to increase their yields and will allow certain animals larger stalls or fields if it means they will produce more meat and milk. In your country, your tax farm, your farmer grants you certain freedoms, not because he cares about your liberties, but because he wants to increase his profits. Are you beginning to see the nature of the cage you were born into? There have been 4 major phases of human farming. The first phase in ancient Egypt was direct and brutal human compulsion.
The link is now in the chat.
Human bodies were controlled, but the creative productivity of the human mind remained beyond the reach of the whip and the brand and the shackles. Slaves remained woefully underproductive and required enormous resources to control. The second phase was the Roman model, wherein slaves were granted some capacity for freedom, ingenuity, and creativity, which raised their productivity. This increased the wealth of Rome, and thus the tax income of the Roman government, and with this additional wealth, Rome became an empire, destroying the economic freedoms that fed its power, and collapsed. I'm sure that this does not seem entirely unfamiliar. After the collapse of Rome, the feudal model introduced the concept of livestock ownership and taxation. Instead of being directly owned, peasants farmed land that they could retain as long as they paid off the local warlords. This model eventually broke down due to the continual subdivision of productive land and was destroyed during the enclosure movement when land was consolidated and hundreds of thousands of peasants were kicked off their ancestral lands because new farming techniques made larger farms more productive with fewer people. The increased productivity of the later Middle Ages created the excess food required for the expansion of towns and cities, which in turn gave rise to the modern democratic model of human ownership. As displaced peasants flooded into the cities, a huge stock of cheap human capital became available to the rising industrialists. And the ruling class of human farmers quickly realized that they could make more money by letting their livestock choose their own occupations. Under the democratic model, direct slave ownership has been replaced by the mafia model. The mafia rarely owns businesses directly, but rather sends thugs around once a month to steal from the business owners. You are now allowed to choose your own occupation, which raises your productivity, and thus the taxes you can pay to your masters. Value this time in your life, kids.
Anyways, folks, here, let me put this back. I don't want to play the whole thing. Like I say, it's a fairly long video. Let me just close it out right there now. But yeah, I shared the link to it, like I say, in the description of the video or down there in the chat. Let me just close that back up. Okay, perfect. Sorry about that. I know I kind of let it go on, but like I say, it's a very revealing video that, you know, takes a lot of things into perspective and right. It's a meta story to explain things. And that's how us humans like to, none of us are conducive or have enough, knowledge or capacity in our brain to be able to put all these things, all this knowledge and store them in the banks, right? No, you need, that's why these meta stories, these big narratives, that's why they're so important, because it gives people something to actually think about and focus on. And then, like I say, once you've seen the big picture, then you can go like, just like a jigsaw puzzle, go down, figure out little things here, there, this. Oh, so that's how that fit together. Oh, I get, well, without that, then you would never have that. But like I say, at least it gives you the idea or the understanding where you figure how this stuff is unfolded. And it wasn't a grand design per se by any one person. It's just natural incentive. People, there's going to be people that are always going to seek to have control over others. It's been that way throughout all of human history. Just like in nature, animals and human beings try to practice dominance over each other, like as whether it's as for procreation or to control resources, whatever the reasoning behind it is that is just a natural tendency. So it doesn't mean that there has to be a conspiracy theory or everyone conspiring to do that. It's just that there's going to be an incentive structure for people who are going to want to assume control or power over others or over resources. And like Stephen Molyneux is alluding to in this video, is it's much, much better. It's cheaper. It requires a lot less manpower, is to control, the sheeple on your plantation. It's much easier to control them by way of their mind and to convince them to believe that they're actually free, that they're actually, that's the thing. If you can convince people that they're not actually enslaved at all, that they're the ones that are actually making all the decision by going out every 4 years and checking a box, right? If you convince people, oh no, you'll be able to get your freedoms. Oh no, they're just, hey, your freedoms are literally just 4 years away. You watch, you get the right politician in there, you watch and you'll see, look how many freedoms you're going to gain. When the fuck has that ever happened? Never. The only time, any time in human history where any pretense of freedom ever, like in the kind of freedoms that we all expect today, like individual freedom, right? The only time that has ever happened was after the Enlightenment era. And when the US was actually, like I say, there was nowhere left on the planet except the people that chose to go to the US or North America and try a whole new social experiment where you get people to think critically about these issues, where you try to restrain or restrict government by putting right down in writing, clear and concise language. Oh, well, you can't, like, the First Amendment, you can't restrict people's freedoms of speech, the freedom of the press, freedom of association. And it worked pretty good. It worked pretty good. But the reason why it worked is because at that particular time, all these people that were coming to America, whether they were coming from Europe or any other places around the world, because America, you know, it's a lot of people from all different places around the world. But the people that were mostly come from there, now I got to, you know, can't forget that slaves still exist there. But most of the people that were gravitating to America did so because of the pretense of freedom. But the bad actors, they recognize, oh, okay, well, if I'm just a citizen or whatever, I'm going to have lots of freedoms, but damn, the way this is set up, I can't gain no power because everything is based on voluntary interactions. Like the economy of the U.S. was set up to be wholly 100% unrestricted, laissez-faire capitalism. It's like, oh, fuck, I can't do anything here. So what'd they do? Oh, but there's still government. Even though the founding fathers, you know, tried to write in on that parchment paper to greatly restrict or contain the size and scope of government, they did leave government as the pretense. So it's like, okay. So we just really, all we got to do is take over the means of that power, which is government. And then, of course, if you got the power of government, so the power to influence people's mind and deem what's legal or legit or moral, and then once you got that kind of power, well, then you can take over and assume the controls, because once you've got the controls of people's mind, and then if you got the controls of money, so through central banking, right? If you've got control over people's mind and the fruits of their labor, which is money, well, you can control them, well, as you've seen. And that control has been ramping up ever since gradually. So where is there on the planet today a new place to try a social experiment? There isn't, which is why we have to change the cultures. We can't just, people say, well, if you don't like being oppressed, just move somewhere else. Well, where the fuck are you going to go? There's plantations. This whole world is comprised of plantations. There's nowhere you can go anymore. There's nowhere left. There's no nice little place where you can go that doesn't have it. Like, doesn't have anywhere where the authoritarians will just take over. Like, even people who have tried seastead, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with Peter Thiel. He's a libertarian billionaire. He was the founder of PayPal, one of the early investors into Facebook. And he's a libertarian. He's all about trying to promote individual liberty. And he helped set up a seasteading thing out in the ocean. But even though it was out in the ocean and it should have been a jurisdiction where no land government had any control. Well, I forget what country it was at the time, but they said, oh, no, we claim ownership over that. Even though it's out in the middle ocean, well, it's close to our jurisdiction, our land, and a government said, well, we're claiming ownership of that. So there isn't any place even now where you can find, like I say, other than way the hell out in the middle of the ocean somewhere, some kind of floating platform. But really, is this the only way? Like I say, no, I'm tired of having to have everyone have to flee everywhere to find that last vestige or that last bastion where you can bring freedom to exist. No more running. No more running. You don't need to. You just got to get people thinking, like I say, in the age of information, we just got to get people thinking enough about these issues where they understand the importance of liberty, and how you bring it to exist is getting people's minds. You just got to change their minds. No violence is needed or necessary, not to say that it won't happen, but if you get enough people, like I say, no one will be able to encroach or destroy your freedoms if you surround yourself with people who are willing to fight, die to defend them. That's just a reality, and who have the ability, because that's the other thing. Well, other armies, well, yeah, but think about the incentive of an army to invade, to cause harm. I mean, some people like causing harm to people, but is the incentive as strong for someone to harm someone, or is it stronger for someone that wants to defend themselves and save their lives or save those they love? The people that want to save their lives and those they love have much stronger incentives. So as long as you give them the tools, like in this modern age, information, connectivity, like the internet, and the tools of war to defend themselves, not war for preemptive, but I'm talking about, you know, military machinery so that you have a means to defend yourself. If you got the right ideas, you have freedom, and you have the means to defend yourself, you can make that happen. You don't have to leave anywhere. Anyways, just a kind of minor rant there, folks. But yeah, so it's already 2 hours and 38 minutes. I'm going to tie this up. There was lots more, but maybe I'll do another stream here in a few days. Oh, yeah. Couldn't believe this article. Sorry, haters, Trump is more popular than ever. Believe it or not, but I guess that might be a good thing, but is it because he's spending money on everyone in middle America that's so desperate and has been hollowed out for so long? It's a thing. If you keep people mired in that misery for long enough, even full-on capitalists will turn towards socialism. Like if you starve people enough, think about it. If you're starving to death, if you can feed yourself and you're a moral person, most of the time, even if someone comes to offer you, a sandwich, but the sandwich was stolen by someone else, most people, if they're moral or ethical in any way, will be like, well, I don't have much, but I can still go make my own sandwich. So no, I'm not taking your stolen fucking sandwich. You take that, get the hell out of here. Matter of fact, you should give it back to the person you stole it from, you fucking thief, right? And most people that are moral, and I would say most people would do that instinctively, right? But get yourself in a position where, your fridge broke down or your entire kitchen burned up and you actually have no food whatsoever, or just a few scraps laying around. Then when that person comes knocking again with the sandwich that they stole from someone else, and you're like, fuck, I haven't eaten in like 5 days. I'm getting really, really skinny. Shit, I can almost see my bones. My skin's almost that transparent. I can actually see my bones. Huh? At that point in time, you're going to start to yield your ethics and morals, right? Because you're like, well, it's either that or die. Now, some people, like I say, there's always that small segment of any society or population who will say, you know what? I'd rather die than take that stolen sandwich. But think about it. How many people would be like, man, I feel bad for that person that you stole the sandwich from, but fuck that, I'm hungry, right? That's what's happening to middle America today. And even though what Trump's doing, spending all this money, it might make them feel good is because Trump's got my back, but Trump's doing the same thing that most of these people would be completely against if it wasn't for the fact that they're the benefactors now. See how people's incentives and perceptions change once you place them in the position where they're in need and are seeking someone to provide? That it can destroy even the most incentivized people, or I should say everyone but the most incentivized people, because like I will not ever include everyone in that equation, because there are some people just say, I'm not taking that motherfucking sandwich. You, no fucking way am I taking that sandwich from you because it's the proceeds of theft. But as you're seeing today, like I say, I'll tie this up real quick. As you're seeing today in Canada, the overwhelming majority of the people in this country have left themselves so vulnerable and in such weak positions that the majority of this population is now like, I don't care how I got to get it, but I got to get mine. And if it has to come by means of forced wealth and income redistribution, well, I'll plug my ears and close my eyes and hold my hand out for that sandwich. And like I say, that's what you're seeing out there today, which is so devastating to me because so many people did so many things throughout the past to put our Western nations on a footing that we would never go this route. That was the importance of capitalism and maintaining an economy so that people could provide for themselves, right? If people could provide for themselves, they'll never, or most people will never turn that way. But once you've destroyed people's ability to sustain themselves or provide for themselves, even the people that you hold in high regard or admiration, well, look at how many of them are out there today are pivoted towards big government for their means to an end. Say, folks, we got a lot of work to do. Got a lot of people we got to talk to. A lot of people we got to break free from this. I don't know how it's going to happen. I think things are still going to get a whole lot worse before we get the chance where they're going to get better. And unfortunately, it seems that's the only way that we're going to get the proper incentive structure back is apparently not that we have to, not that I want us to get down there, but apparently people got to get to the bottom before they realize that there's nowhere else to go but up, right? Anyways, let me see if there's anything left here. If the Unknown Woman channel, Trudeau's a maggot. Oops, there I go. I'd never seen you. I never noticed you in the chat there, but nice to see you there. The Unknown Woman channel. If you haven't already, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Help me grow. I really appreciate that. And the rest of you, like I say, if you haven't done so, please hit the like button, share the video, subscribe. This video is quite long, so I know a lot of people probably won't. But even if you don't want to share this particular video, hey, I give anyone permission if you want to take and chunk it up, like my video, and just use portions of it. Like, don't use it to profit yourself, because I don't even profit of it myself. But if you want to, download my video and share it yourself in some way and just take a segment of it that is where there's a point where it's like, oh, he made a really good point here and just use that. I give you permission to do so. Like I say, just don't try to profit off it. That I find that a little bit a little scummy, to be honest with you. People that are just benefiting, profiting off people that put out content material and they're not even benefiting and profiting themselves. Like, oh, dang, that's kind of weird, right? But anyways, but yeah, like I say, we got to help to educate and inform a lot of people in this country. But I want everyone of you out there to recognize and realize that we are really, we're the ones that are, we're a minority here, but we are the leaders of liberty in this world. And we got to do whatever we can. We got to step outside our comfort zones whenever we have to and do what's right, not just for us and not just for us today or tomorrow or next week or next month. But like I say, I know myself, I care about my kids. I care about my potential grandkids and the rest of a lot of really decent, good people that are going to be born into the chains of economic and social slavery that they never asked for. They didn't ask for this to be imposed on them. Let's do what we can to try to get them out from underneath of it. And at the same time, get ourselves out from underneath it. Because to me, that's even more important. Get ourselves out of it right now. A position where because if we're in a better position ourselves, then we can definitely be in a better position to help future generations as well. So Evada so weird says I'm not subscribed to you. That's not true. See, I think they fuck with your channel. Really? Well, hit it again just for the hell of it, right? If it says you're not, just hit it again, just for the heck of it, right? I would definitely appreciate that. I don't know why that happens. Like I say, I have no idea why that happens. Okay. That's a very good idea to make it shorter so we can share it more easily. Can you do it, please? I'll try, but like I say, I do so much in the run of a day. And then like I say, I leave a little bit of time for my home time and spend time with my wife. I got kids and stuff. So, or not, I shouldn't say them kids, they're full-grown adults, but I have sons and stuff. But anyway, I mean, someday if I get lots of extra time in my hand, go through them and chunking them up. Yeah, I might actually do that. But it's just that, like I say, I overwhelm myself now with so much stuff. And like, I want to stay on top of everything because I don't just do this, like I say, for myself. Mostly this is to have an archive, right? I'm building a library, an archive, which is why I maintain a regular, consistent basis of doing this stuff and covering the most important stuff. Is I want to keep a record, an archive of all that's been happening and taking place and transpiring, because we're fortunate today to benefit from all the things that people in the past, like people in the past, they had to write books and novels and literature and write poems or prose or plays. Today, I'm doing the same thing. I'm carrying on that legacy of keeping a record for future generations. It's just I'm doing it in the digital realm and keeping it, like I've got it on multiple backups, like I say. So I keep doing what I'm doing, and I don't think I can truly stop doing it because it's very important, because there's only a few of us out here doing it in the way I do it. Lots of people are talking about stuff that's happening in the here and now, but they're not archiving it. They're not keeping it as a record. And some of them don't even care if their channels ever continue to exist. Whereas me, like I say, I've got backup drives. It's not just on my channel. I've got it backed up on drive. So I'm keeping a record of all that's taking place, so that at some point in time in the future, there will be people be able to use this for their own knowledge and know what happened today, truthfully what happened today, rather than the rhetoric that might be written by some of the propagandists in the future that say, oh, it was this coronavirus that turned everyone into socialists, right? No. It wasn't the coronavirus. We were already headed there, right? That was just maybe one of the last nails in the coffin that helped put these central planners in a position where they can bring that forward quicker. That's all it is. But it's definitely not because of the coronavirus why Canadians are turned towards socialism today. No. And I'm going to make sure they're not going to be able to keep that narrative and make it stick. Which is why it's so vitally important for me to continue what I'm doing. Which is another reason why, and I hate to bother you people, but once again, I could really use a little bit of financial support from time to time. Like I say, even $5 once in a while or something. I have a Patreon account. I have a PayPal. You can donate on the Super Chat. Although the Super Chat, 30% they take for us. So I usually try to tell people, if you're going to donate to the Super Chat, just do it in small denominations, small numbers. But yeah, like I say, Patreon, PayPal, and what's the other one that? And if you're one of those people that have Bitcoins and you got yourself a nice little buildup of that you've built up over the years because you were an early adopter, I have a Bitcoin wallet address as well that I usually have, and I'll make sure they're all linked in the description of this video because, like I say, I could use a little bit of help if people don't mind. Are you up live on BitChute? No, unfortunately, Ian, that would be, I would like to be able to do that live on BitChute, but so far with this streaming service that I use, StreamYards, I'm not given that option, unfortunately. Hopefully they will eventually add it because they have been adding. I noticed they've added quite a few other different ones to it, and hopefully they will add BitChute because, yeah, I'd love to be able to live stream to BitChute. There's sometimes I'll upload my videos to BitChute, and periodically it's like, oh, damn, I've got hundreds of views on that thing on BitChute. So I get some good traction on BitChute too. And actually, that reminds me, I'm going to have to upload a couple more videos to BitChute because I'm a little bit behind the times there. Anyways, like I say, thanks to everyone who showed up to the, in case YouTube goes down. Oh yeah, I definitely got enough of the important ones on BitChute in case YouTube goes down. And like I say, I also have them, even if they're not up, like they're a lot of the most important ones are on BitChute, but if YouTube goes down, well, I have an archive of all my videos that I could, it would take a lot. I better be in a different place because it'd take me 100 years to upload them. But yeah, I'm constantly adding stuff to BitChute all the time. And I'm going to continue to do so. So like I say, thanks for everyone that showed up for the stream today. It's tomorrow, Sunday. Oh, let me just mention, not this Sunday, but next Sunday, I'm having a conversation with David. He's Tim Mullen's co-host. I don't know if I've told a few of you people in the past, but if you haven't heard me say this before, is Tim Mullen is the leader of the Libertarian Party of Canada, a friend of mine. He's actually out in Alberta, and he or from Alberta. I'm pretty sure he's still there now, but he does a podcast with a co-host, David. His channel is Tim Mullen Liberty Journey. And those guys cover all kinds of really important topics. I definitely recommend you subscribe to his channel and check out some of his videos. And his, like I say, his co-host, I've talked with Tim a few times in the past. You can streams as well. But this time it's me and David. We're going to be talking about all the millennials, or anyone 35 and under. Millennials or Gen Zers. Me and David are going to talk about people that are 35 and under and their reverence for the state. Now, I'll just give you a little heads up that I'm just going to say, I believe the reason why a lot of the young people today have a reverence for the state as their authority is because they've lacked, like I say, it used to be when I was growing up, Christianity was an option to learn morality and ethics. But because a lot of people today, aren't going to church or aren't being taught some of those great principles or hearing some of those stories, contained within the Bible, a lot of people now have replaced God for government as their moral or legal authority, I should say. And that's unfortunately what the people that are mostly 35 and under today, the bulk of them, the majority of them are, because that's all they see today. The only thing out there that is constantly touted and espoused them as being their authority when it comes to morality or laws or justice, right, is government, which is why they seem to have a real prevalence and admiration for the state, which, like I say, that's something we definitely got to help. If we want to help the people in the future, we definitely want to start now with the younger generations that we can still reach. Some of them we might not be able to reach, but many of them are young enough now that if we get to them now and start explaining some of these fundamental aspects of how the importance of liberty and individual liberty and not having the reverence of the state and how detrimental the state is to even themselves, because that's the thing, these younger people, they're the ones that the state's going to impose a lot of these debts onto, right? So we're going to be having this conversation talking about the reverence of the state in terms of the people that are 35 or under. So hopefully that'll go well. David seems to be a pretty smart guy and pretty on top of these things in terms of ethics. So I think it'll be a good conversation. But like I say, that'll be next Sunday, April 5th, 12 p.m. Eastern. So watch for that. Other than that, and like I say, thanks for everyone that showed up today. And we'll see you all in the next chat or whenever the next video is up. Like I say, when you do see those videos, hit the like, hit the subscribe, and don't be shy to share, especially with those status in your life. We've all got them. sneak it into their feed someday, right? On their Facebook feeds. Oh, here, I got something to show you or something. I don't know, whatever. But yeah, like I say, because once they've seen something, even if it's uncomfortable, even if they hate what you've said, once they've heard the truth, well, they can't unhear it. They can try to deny it, but the truth stands on its own. Anyways, everyone have a good day, and we'll see you next time. It's Canadian Libertarian.